walks, and it's there to have it done.
I guess I've never put a plan on it like you just said. Been doing it for a lot of years now, just pretty much, so it's funny. All right.
I'll entertain a motion for the bills if there are no other questions.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make unanimous. Thanks, Ginger. It's a lot of work. Appreciate it very much. Heidi, come on up. Utah Retirement Systems.
So we've had a lot of discussion about this. You need some name, Ginger, you okay? We got a lot of discussion about URS and the changes that are coming in July. The public safety is going to have an increase of 4.73%. We have in the past elected to pick up, which means that the employer pays for that increase for the employee. We have elected to do that pickup in the past whenever we've had an increase.
So maybe you should preface that with the legislation and why we're doing this.
Okay.
Because this is coming down from state legislation. This is not out of the blue that the county's doing.
Right. This has nothing to do with the county. This is the state of Utah and their retirement system, and there's legislation that was put in place a long time ago when they brought two-tier aboard. So when they stopped Tier 1 and grandfathered it in and they started Tier 2, part of that is it's the non-contributory, and it changed from non-contributory to contributory, which means the employee could at some point potentially have to contribute to their retirement. URS is one of the very few places that employees don't have to contribute. Most retirement people have to contribute to, right? And so with the changes in the wages and the way that wages have increased over the last several years, they're now having to catch up in the retirement. And so it's making it so that our employees, in just our regular employees that are not in public safety, are going to have to contribute 0.70 into their own retirement for the first time ever in Utah retirement systems. We are getting a decrease in our amortization rate for the Tier 1 employees, which is because we're starting to see those Tier 1 people retire out of the system, right? And so that amortization rate that we've been paying is going down, and we will receive a benefit from that. But there is no way legally. I have spoke with legal counsel. I spoke with Johnny Miller just on Friday, and I had a long conversation about it. There's really no way that the county can offset that 0.70 legally. There's nothing that we can do to pay that for our employees. There's no stipends you can give. Like we went over every option available, every thought that every HR director's had about how can we offset this for our people. So even if you as the commissioners wanted to pay that 0.70, you can't. You're not legally in a position to be able to do that for them. We could try to find a workaround and take our chances, but Johnny says that we will cause ourselves problems with the IRS if we try to do that. So all of the surrounding counties and everybody that I can find out in the state is picking up the 4.73 for public safety. They're doing the pickup like they have in the past. The 0.70, there's really not anything that we can do with that. I am proposing that we use that money that we're saving in the amortization rate to start doing a 401k match for all of our employees. We can't do it for one group and not another, and so it would be something that we would offer to all the employees, and then we'd come up with a 401k match that we would start to offer our people so that they're going to put 0.70 in, maybe they'd want to put 2% in or 5% in, and we could come up with an amount that we would match of that, and then that would give them some benefit back if we were matching into their 401k. But this 0.70 is their money, so whenever they contribute on their own, it's different than the pickup because the 0.70 is the employee's money. So if the employee leaves, they take that with them. It's not the employee whether they met the vesting period or not, whether they're vested or not. That's their money and they take it with them. So that's another reason they don't allow you to do it, is because it's not.
And they have the option of putting it in 401k or somewhere else.
the .70, it'll go in, it goes in it goes into 401K automatically because of the way that the retirement.
They can't opt out of it.
No, they cannot opt out of it. It has to be paid and it has to be withheld from their paycheck. So it's, I've worked with Paylocity, we're just in the final stages of getting that set up to be ready to go on the 1st of July. So that .70 will come out and go to URS, so. I would like to come back on July 2nd and bring the resolution for the pickup, for public safety, and then present to you some options for doing a 401K match. So if it's okay, I'd like to get that, yeah, get that fire too. I'd like to get on the agenda for that July 2nd meeting to come back and address that with you, get the resolution signed, and so we're ready for that first payroll in July.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll get you on the agenda.
all right.
Any other questions?
No.
It is what it is, right?
Right. What we don't, we really don't have a lot of choice here. This is something that the state's doing, and you just kind of have to go along with it. You don't have a choice. You're part of URS, so.
You did a lot more. It's salty, did it? Do we have anybody administering a plan, a 401K plan for us right now?
Yeah, URS.
URS just doesn't keep it. Okay, so it would be a simple transition.
Yeah, URS. Everything we do is through URS.
Perfect.
So, yeah. 401K, 457, we have lots of options for employees to invest if they want to. There's a lot of employers that require that employee, they have an automatic enrollment, and they require them to enroll in a 401K. They can opt out of it later, but when they hire them on, they're automatically enrolled. And URS is really pushing all employers in the state to start doing that, so that your employees aren't just relying on the portion that we're investing for them. They're also putting into their own retirement to help better prepare them for retirement. So.
And you mentioned the vesting period. Would they can take that money even if they're only here for a year, they can still take that money?
Yep, it's theirs. That .70
Transfer
is
it.
theirs. The rest of it that we put in for them, they can't have until after they're vested.
Okay.
But there is no vesting period on this because it's their money, they're putting it in, and so if they leave, it goes with them. And so that's comforting to the employee to know, well, we're putting into the retirement, we're not vested, what happens? It's their money.
Just theirs.
If they go, they take it with them, yep. Yep, and everybody's seeing the same increase, right? It's happening to everybody in the state, so we're not the only ones that are dealing with it, so.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Thanks, Heidi.
Welcome.
Appreciate it very much. We do have just a few minutes before the public hearing, so I think I'll jump down to any old business. Beaver Hospital options?
I know there was a last special, Tyler did.
Is there any updates on where we're at with that?
I haven't talked to Tyler after he walked through with the company that was coming to give us a bid on to get the asbestos removed out of there. We had the report of where the asbestos was, and they were just looking at it to see what it was gonna take to remove the
Yeah, I
asbestos.
haven't talked to
Yeah,
them.
we talked to him.
Okay.
I'm not sure
We're still kind of on
what
hold.
they've done now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send you real quick.
Yeah. Gary.
Gary. Cindy, Garrett, you guys have anything for us real quick? If you don't mind?
Sure.
You got a few minutes? How are you this morning?
I'm good, good to see you.
Good to see you. Just for the record, if you will.
I will. Cindy Bullock from Representative Celeste Moy's office. Scott Albrecht is taking another position. So you get me for a while, I don't know what we're going to end up doing, but Scott is taking another position for a construction management company in the valley. I don't know which one, but there's probably not a whole lot of them, you can probably guess.
Okay.
We will miss him, he's done a really good job. But it's good to be back in Beaver County. The representative is working really hard. We have a couple bills that you might be interested in. RECA, the House has a strict reauthorization, so RECA is the downwinder bill. It ran out and expired week, 10 days ago. So we have a bill in the House to just do a strict reauthorization, to just expand that time frame. There has been some discussion about expanding to include other types of cancers and other geographical areas. We looked at that, but there was not a lot of appetite with the current makeup of the House to do that, so we thought we would just do a strict reauthorization to expand that time. The Senate has a different version, and Gary can probably talk about that, but that has come. We are introducing, supposedly today, in about an hour and a half, a permit by rule bill that basically will tell federal agencies, you've got to look at your policies, and so for example, Beaver County is applying for a permit for your 5K, and you've got to run through Forest Service. Well, Forest Service can't just get mad at you and say, oh, you don't apply, you don't get it this year, or put so many cogs in the wheel that you run out of time. So it will basically say the agencies have to look at their policies, and if they can do it, this permit by rule, rather than all this overwhelming problems, to try to streamline the process. So that will be introduced today, and then we can talk a little bit more about the specifics of that, but that'll be a really good bill. And other than that, she is out there working hard and doing everything she can for the constituents. And if you have questions, or if there are other grants you're applying for, if you reach out, we can probably sign on to, I can't guarantee, but if it's good for Beaver County, it's probably going to be good for the district, and I can't imagine that she didn't sign letters of support. So if there are other funding or grants that you're looking at, please let us know.
Any kind of a federal?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
that was approved, that was
Okay,
on
that's
there.
I think it was approved, was
Yeah.
it not? Yes.
Yeah, and just in that, so on community project funding, with the previous Congressman Stewart was actually on the appropriations committee, so it was a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but for lack of a better word, a little bit easier to get those approved, because he actually sat on that committee.
Right.
We have staff that has worked on that, so we are, cautiously optimistic that those projects will get through the full appropriations, but it's a little bit higher, heavier lift when you're not actually sitting on that committee. So, but yeah, Elk Meadows was one of the 15 that Congresswoman Malloy has selected and will go to the appropriations committee.
Good. Thank you. I know she's busy.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank
she's
you.
busy.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see ya.
How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning. Is it Riley Windstorm?
Barely.
It did-
For the record.
It
for the
did
record.
hit St. George though, right?
Not very.
Not so bad.
Not significant.
That's what I
So
heard.
one
They didn't get it quite like
real
we did.
wind came through, and there was over.
We had
Change
enough
the
for all of us.
temperature a little bit.
Yeah.
For the record, Gary Webster with
Thank you.
Senator Mike Lee's office, and very concerned about the fire going on. That was a controlled burn. I think they had looked at years in advance of what they wanted to
It's in
accomplish.
the fire, it's in
And-
our plan.
Yeah, so I have been in contact with some of the forest supervisors, and interesting that I would like to see, and I believe our office will try and address this, and that is when critical assets are needed immediately, that they don't sit within the perimeter of being able to serve as a resource to fight what has to be called as a fire becomes a wildfire. Interesting to know that those that are on the ground working in a controlled environment, they get nervous when they know that they have to make the call that it becomes a wildfire, and that time frame they lose is a challenge. But they're worried about how much money it's going to cost and what it means for their career, because this only happens about anywhere from 97 to 90% of fires are contained and are done properly, and it's that 1 to 3%, unfortunately, that we have had to deal with in Utah recently. So, at any rate, that'll be interesting, and I look forward to addressing that. A couple of items that the senator is working on, and that is, and we are prepping for our role on energy and natural resources, which in January we hope that becomes something. I know Senator Barrasso will be moving into another role, and as a result, Senator Lee is positioned very nicely for that. As a result, we're working hard on issues dealing with wilderness study areas and areas of critical environmental concern. Watch for more information regarding how those situations are addressed. Cindy mentioned RECA, which from the Senate perspective, we have passed that, but there will be some realignments as the House addresses that situation. Real concern for Senator Lee in that, as you know, our U.S. national debt clock continues to increase significantly on a daily basis. We're at $34.832 trillion in debt. Knowing that some of the RECA addresses have been between $50 and $60 billion over a 10-year period, which we're currently managing that at about $50 million per year. So it's an extreme increase, and as the area broadens, perhaps, then the costs increase, but we need to find the offsets, otherwise that debt will continue to increase. We are also addressing secure rural schools, SRS, along with Senator Crapo. He is a lead in this particular bill. Senator Lee is following him and supporting him in those efforts for SRS. So watch for that as well. Any questions for the good senator that I can pass along? Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning, and let me know what we can do.
So he is supporting SRS?
He is with Senator Crapo, this particular version, so watch that closely. I'll get you some more information when it's available.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Well, we gotta have SRS until.
And that's what I have communicated with our staff back there, that in our rural counties that have so much federal.
That's the first I've heard that he was supportive. I didn't think he had ever voted for it.
In the past, it has been a little bit of a challenge, but I think realizing and seeing what Senator Crapo has, I mean, obviously, I don't believe it's.
Crapo and Biden are huge, I mean, they're the sponsors of the bill.
Mm-hmm. So, watch that one closely, and I'll provide additional insight as I get it.
Okay. Well, we definitely need his support on that.
Yes, agreed. And I will say, as Cindy mentioned,
What's our SRS spending annually?
Annually?
Is it 80,000?
About that. No, I think 120.
Is it 120 on,
And it goes.
oh, that's right, 120 on SRS and it's $1 million on bill. So that's big to our county.
Yeah, I'll pass it along. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary, appreciate your time. All right, next item on the agenda is the public hearing for agricultural protection zone, Smith application. Kyle, Kevin, or you Trent, you guys want to come up real quick?
You want me to bring this up?
Sure. Oh, yes, great. All right, I'm going to have you just, if you mind just give us a brief introduction about the application, where the two boards stood, and then we'll have the public hearing shortly after that.
Sure.
You can open up the top.
So this was, right, our third application for ag protection, in the Westfield area.
Okay.
For the Smith, family. The planning and zoning recommendation, to be, anyways, there's a map showing what, the planning and zoning recommended. So it's all but,
Don't push any buttons, Fred. Don't push them. You might blow it. Push button. Only in emergency.
I was just gonna scroll down.
Just scroll down, just scroll down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll take that.
Because the map is on there.
Funky printer,
Got a drum issue.
a drum issue.
Scroll down, yeah, scroll down there.
There we go.
Okay, that's the advisory board, so this is, this is the planning and zoning's recommendation. There's two areas that are 5-acre parcels here that don't meet the criteria of 20 contiguous, and then these 2 acres, or 2 parcels totaling a total of 5 acres don't either. The planning and zoning recommended through this area here. There's no property between these parcels. It's right-of-ways or roadways. So we've, right, state law, 1741-3013 states that agricultural protection areas or industrial protection areas may include within its boundaries land used for roadways, dwelling sites, parks, or other non-agriculture uses. And so the board felt that obviously that falls within that criteria. If the roadway wasn't there, then the property would be contiguous in that regard. And so that's the recommendation planning and zoning had on the project. There's also some here on the south end of the airport, or by the airport, abutting Beaver City, so.
There's another Beaver City.
No, I said abutting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you zoom out a little bit?
Sure. More?
Yeah, that's fine.
Doesn't matter.
The cars? That's all about it, right?
Yeah.
There it is. Advisory board.
So our recommendation was the same as zoning, other than these ones that he talked about, the right-of-way and the roadways. We didn't consider those contiguous and didn't refer to that as part of the law. But that's the only place we differed, was in that. So these parcels, right? These ones here.
Because why?
They're separated by right-of-way or roadway.
All the way, or just the one road in between?
The one road, then I think on that upper part, right?
Yeah, there's that, right.
Yeah, so we didn't consider those contiguous, but other than that, we would have the same recommendation.
And what are the acreages there?
19, with all of those right there, just around 19.
With everything, or just the
The
part?
total
that-
acreage of everything, or the area right there that his cursor's on?
The one
Just
that
that
is-
area right there?
That's 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it needs that other right of way to make it above the 20 acres. Right, so
It needs the other property, you mean?
the other property,
So the property is abutting it, right, but there's a right of way through there, and that's why I read that state law saying that
that
they're
could
able to
be,
have, right, roadways,
Okay.
right of ways, non-agriculture in those areas.
Okay.
Right, it would be contiguous if
The road, right.
the right of way was there, right? So, we've done the same, we actually did the exact same on Robertson's in, Greenville. There's one with a roadway and right of way, 13 acres, and it was approved on both.
So just for clarification, correct me if I'm wrong, but they own the property under the right of way. They just, the county has a right of way through that property.
Correct, right,
Okay.
so if you, sorry, I'll zoom in.
Are not owned under the right of way.
No
The way
way.
that land was distributed out was under the Beaver local survey. That left a 66-foot gap between those parcels
Correct, which would
that they
be
do
the,
not own.
That nobody owns.
So it's a gap, not an overlapping right of way.
Okay.
right, so it's not, no one owns anything between there, right? No one owns anything between there, but if that wasn't there, then it would be considered contiguous. And like I said, state law allows roadways at Point Parks.
They allow it,
Any of those things, correct. So-
but that doesn't mean that the roadway is a enjoiner or is the element that combines them.
No, but I would say, right, the whole point of this is to say, this is an island, right? This right here is considered an island. This here wouldn't be considered, no one owns land between them, right, in any of that area. And so that's, like I said, it's the same thing that was done in Roberts's. They have a gap around the one area around Greenville. It's 13.4 acres or something like that.
So is there a road in between those two? The one that's solid and the one that,
Down below.
There's a road
so
here.
that's an existing road,
Right,
right?
and then this is a right of way through.
Just a right of way or a road?
It's going, I mean, in our plan, it's for a future roadway, but as of now, there's no road there.
Fences? It's farmed or grazed or
That lane,
just?
lane fenced off, isn't it?
Is it a lane?
It's great, it's contiguous because there is no fence between that, we run our cows from the very top of the lane that says 900 north,
All the way
clear
through?
down to that other road that's existing. That's all contiguous all the way through there, they travel freely back and forth.
There's no fencing or.
There's no fencing between any of
Okay,
them.
all right.
It's actually a slough.
It'd look better if we had a Google Earth thing, then you could,
It's actually a slough, there's not a, there's no way to put it, you can't drive through there at all.
no, you're fine, I'm just,
Anyway, so that's the only difference between their recommendation and the planning and zoning's recommendation.
two battling boards.
Two battling lords.
We're not battling too hard.
We just treat the law the same way.
Yeah. All right.
So what you're saying, Trent, is if your board had that law in front of them, they may come out with a different recommendation, a similar
They
recommendation.
don't have very much heartache with that.
Okay.
So, okay. So with that, anything else?
No.
All right, I'm gonna declare a public hearing now on the ag protection zone. So if there's comments, if you will, leave it to about 3 minutes, and if it's been said, we'll note that it's been said, the comment. So anyways, public hearing is now open. If there is any.
Do I need to clarify anything else with anybody,
It's up to you.
as far as?
Yeah, come on.
As far as roads go, or,
Yeah.
like I already stated, that big parcel that they've whited out there, there's no road there.
And just for the record, it's just
Tony Smith.
Thank you. I mean, we know who you are, but.
I got you. So like I said, there is no road there. We've ran back and forth through there my entire life, probably my dad's entire life. So the question of continuality is never been there.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay. Perfect.
anything else?
I don't know.
Any
Just
questions?
if you wanna make a comment,
Yeah, maybe tell us why you feel the ag protection zone is important for your guys' operation.
Just to keep it intact, honestly, I was I'm in probably 6 or 7 generations on this property. We looked at it as a way to, it's a family operation. I was raised there, I want my kids to be raised there. Keeping up the tradition of the county as far as how we were founded in Beaver County. I'm not gonna lie, we don't make a ton of money, but we make pretty good kids, so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right. Public, oh, you got one? Okay.
Do I need to state my name?
Please.
Cynthia Hanson. I just want to say that I'm in favor of any agricultural land being protected that we can, because I feel there's a huge assault from our federal government on agriculture, farmers and ranchers. So I'm in favor of whatever we can do to protect our agricultural land.
Thank you. Okay. Any other takers? Okay, public hearing is now over. All right, any other questions for anybody on this matter?
So what's the total acreage?
245, somewhere in that range is in that application.
I think it's down.
It's under, yeah.
245.45.
Yeah, I was
Seems
close.
good.
That's pretty good.
245, 45. Tracy, please.
You ready for a motion?
Yep, but I wanted to see something here. So in this ordinance, does it specify somewhere else the properties?
So where it says the, attached,
Yes?
we say that's where we attach all of
The
the.
attached
The legal
designated
description.
properties
Yeah,
hereby
the
established,
legal description.
excluding those non-20 acre ones, right?
That's whatever you,
Well, that's what it says here.
oh.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's what we're saying. Right? Okay, yes, I'll entertain a motion. Beaver County Ordinance 2024-04.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve that. Ordinance, Beaver County ordinance number 2024-04.
Okay?
With the recommendation of the planning and zoning or the planning and zoning?
Of the planning and zoning committee, that we exclude the two separate parcels, or would it be four?
I think it's 4.
Four,
25 and
the smaller property.
two, adding up to 5.
Okay?
So that would be the 245.45, that's excluding them.
No, that's,
You would have to take that out.
we ended up removing those 15 acres, so
Okay.
230-ish.
Okay.
Okay, clear as mud, Ginger?
Ginger? Got it? Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Yardley, aye.
Commissioner Pearson, aye.
Commissioner Holling said aye. Make unanimous. Okay?
Well, thanks guys for doing this and all the work that it takes to get this done. I'm proud of you for getting it done and protecting that, so thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
What? No, it says any single parcel not equating 20 acres, that's fine.
Yeah, it'll be in the description with it.
Okay. Commission updates. Concerns, questions? I mean, there's a fire on the mountain we know about. which, I don't know if Jared Whitmer's coming, is he?
But he might be sometime, but I don't know when.
We are getting updates on that daily.
Yeah, so,
You get emails, right?
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna kind of report.
It is, I will say just for the record, it is in a area that they are, we're gonna control burn anyways.
Yeah, it's in a designated.
It's still in a
site.
designated area.
It'll be a really good burn. They can keep it inside box and it don't get away. It is a really good place. It's not accessible for lumber or grazing or anything else. It's just dead and downfall. I've been talking to them on a daily basis. Been doing the wildfire, updates on our emails, and, I think that, cold front, which literally was a cold front, I laughed when they were saying cold front, till I woke up to
46 degrees.
46 degrees.
My house was 39.
Was it really? Well, that north wind was a bear last night. It rolled hay and rolled grain, and all these guys had already got all their hay out, and, they're worked out, but.
No.
Not me.
No,
Or got lucky, what is it?
we never, I don't know if we ever are lucky, we never, are encouraging on the wind. We never want the wind for anybody.
Yeah.
Just enough to dry the hay, that's all. We're kind of good.
There is a crew here that's stationed out at the Beaver City offices, fighting the fire and helping out. Obviously, there's been some delays.
Last I looked, there was like 270
Yeah.
personnel. And it might be, I'm not sure, upwards of that. I think last night it was, I think it only gained like 30 acres or something. Yesterday it was like 2280 or
I've
something.
been in already burned.
Yeah.
There it is on the map for people. Not really threatening any structure or anything like that at this point. So, they're trying to contain try to get a boundary line kind of there and then set and then keep it in that box, what they're gonna call it, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
So the only closures, like all the campgrounds, everything's open except for, I think LeBaron, I'm not sure. Well, LeBaron was open, Anderson Meadow wasn't open. But,
Just above Cancel Lake, I think, right?
yeah, so you can't make, that's what's funny, is
Can't make the loop.
I made the loop Sunday, a week ago, made the whole loop. And then Tuesday was when everything kind of blew up. But,
Okay? Do you have anything else?
yeah, I met, so we had a sage grouse meeting last week. They've had a lot of, comments, let's see, Kevin's here. Maybe you should, I thought you left, I didn't see you still sitting there. They've added a bunch of acreage in Beaver County, which I don't know if it's gonna really hurt us or help us, but most of it's out here across the freeway, connecting both sides of the freeway. I don't agree with it. It's not what the comments were written to be. I don't know, what else would you say? The state's still fighting it. The one thing I did say is the grazers can actually apply for sage grouse money and do reseeds and treatments and different things like that, but sage grouse are pretty temperamental. And then I had a meeting Saturday with Flipco, a bunch of the other commissioners just on public land issues. There's so many things going on, just on public lands in general, the monuments. There's a bunch of lawsuits coming from the state, trying to just keep the public land stuff open. There's big issues. I know they don't necessarily affect us, but a lot of road closures and stuff, and they're trying to close 500 some odd miles of roads in Grant County. Oh yeah, it's crazy. BLM stuff. And then, as far as schedules go, we've got that, congressional briefing is, the 12th through the 14th of August. I think you guys got it on your calendar, didn't you? So it'd be the 13th would be the day that we'd have you guys come over.
Yeah.
I've got, we've got a UAC Justice conference. I don't know if you guys can go to it or not. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to. It's next week, the 26th. I think they do a meeting the night of the 26th, and then the actual meeting is Thursday. And I think it's at the UAC offices. And we've got our watershed meeting right on Thursday afternoon.
No, I think we're gonna back that up and,
Are we?
yeah, push it till, August.
Okay. Well, if we do that, maybe I'll try and go to that.
There was too much going on that day, so.
Yeah, I was just like, I just can't go to all of this stuff. So tomorrow, I don't know where you guys will be, but tomorrow is, Sitla is gonna be, the state Sitla board is going to be here.
Yeah, I'm out of town, unfortunately.
Okay,
I already told her on that.
all right.
You plan on going, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you can, maybe, but
Yeah,
they're using the chamber, right? Is it
yes,
12 here?
it's this chamber that's reserved.
What time is that?
It's,
10, I think.
yeah, Thursday.
Is it Thursday or tomorrow?
Well, Thursday's the meeting here, tomorrow's the tour up north,
Yeah.
up on the mountain. And then,
Is at 9 here?
Oh, it's at 9?
I think it's actually at 10, I think I just put it on it,
Okay.
didn't I? Just so that we had the,
Maybe. I closed it one of them.
yeah. They came and met with Stephanie, and she lined them all up on the room and that.
You'll help them tomorrow on Thursday for their meeting? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm supposed to give them some sort of a, so you got economic development on Thursday, right? Two. So I probably won't be there because I'll be here. That's all I got.
Okay. Commissioner Yardley? Anything?
I was thinking about running up to that interim meeting tomorrow in Salt Lake. There's a lot of interesting things on the agenda, just to kind of listen and keep an eye and maybe talk to a few people up there. So I might go that direction. Then Thursday, I can come here or do the economic development.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer, okay.
Whatever works, I think. Is it in Beaver?
It's in Beaver.
Okay. Okay.
As far as other updates, I guess the Mansfield Highway, I was gonna try to drive it today and see how far they've got. I think they're just working on that middle section to complete it now. And then, the road crew is chip sealing the M&M Road all the way from Milford to Minersville this year. Today, they were gonna do I believe they're doing the south end towards Milford today. So be aware of that. That's a big stretch of road to try to get done. They're hoping they can get done in 3 days.
The north end, you mean?
They're gonna
Or
do,
south of,
they're gonna do from Dalton's Cuber.
they were sweeping yesterday.
Yes, is that where they were sweeping right there? So they're gonna try to do that one today, and then the one from Dalton's to Minersville, part of it tomorrow, and then finish up on Thursday. So it was a good thing they didn't celebrate the Juneteenth on Wednesday, I guess, so they could get it all done. I had to.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
I don't think it's something wrong with it, you know.
Have you got your steering committee stuff tomorrow?
It was last week.
Oh,
steering committee last week. I just got a text from Brian, he did say that the ask from Eagle Point is going through, cleared the first hurdle, so it's only through one time through, so.
What's that at?
That's for that water project up on the mountain.
Oh, that's Eagle Point, not Elk Meadow,
Well, I mean, House Meadows.
or the boat?
No, House Meadows are district. So it's going to the House and Senate appropriations, and it's cleared. It's done, yeah. It's cleared the first hurdle, he said, so that's good. Hopefully it gets funded. Kyle, I see you walking in the back there. You wanna, you have anything for us really quick?
You bet.
Mr. Senator?
Absolutely. Would you like me to come up here?
Sure.
Good deal. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you. How are you today?
Good.
Good.
And yourself?
Good, good.
There's a few things that we're working
You
on.
gotta introduce yourself.
Just for the record.
Kyle, and I'm with Senator Mitt Romney's office. And I apologize if any of this is redundant, but, the Farm Bill on the Senate side is picking up some steam again, which is a good thing. It looks considerably different from the House version that passed the House Ag Committee. And not unlike the last Farm Bill discussion, I think the conference for this one will be equally as dysfunctional. But there is forward movement on that at least. The senator in the bipartisan infrastructure law stood up that wildfire commission, and we've got our first round of feedback from the commission, which is really good feedback, frankly. So with that process, we've been able to take that information, and we will introduce a bill hopefully this week. It sounds like they're out next week, so soon at the very least, we'll have a wildfire bill that includes provisions with things such as grazing permit flexibility, so we can use grazing permits as a tool to fight wildfire, which we all agree is the best way to go about that. It's obviously cheaper than mechanical treatments and provides an economic and an ecological benefit. So I'm personally really happy, excited about that. We finally got a commitment from Secretary Blinken to put together a strategy on how to navigate our differences with China, because we have, for all intents and purposes, been shooting in the dark in terms of how to deal with that conflict. We signed on to a letter opposing President Biden's newest $147 billion student loan forgiveness scheme. That's something that we're leaning into pretty heavily. Signed on to a bill that withdraws funding from the UN if Palestine advances in any privilege. We are working on the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. In this session, we went into it with hopes of expanding the geographical area that the coverage would compensate for. And it essentially got hijacked by Senator Hawley, who then expanded that area to include things or places that were not influenced by the government test sites. And the snowball effect there happened, and Senator Hawley's bill would include coverage for all sorts of conditions that are, again, not related to the test site. So we opposed that, we voted against it, and we are voting for a clean 2-year reauthorization in hopes that by the time the next one expires, we'll be able to get our ducks in a row and really focus on stuff that's germane to side effects from the test site. If there is anything that we can do for you guys in terms of casework, please let us or any of our offices really know that we have people whose full-time job it is to deal with IRS and anything really with the federal nexus, retirements and so on and so forth, and we'd be able to death down. Do you have any questions for us in our office?
No, but I do have to do a little bit of a commendation. Had a friend whose brother actually works out here at Furbo, and he was leaving. His job was done, and he's going down to Africa for a while. But anyway, he stopped and he says, I just gotta tell you, I never personally told you guys thank you for, helping get my mother out of Morocco during COVID. So that was, your boss and Chris Stewart that worked on that for us. And, yeah, she got locked down for, a week or something like that. And finally, you know, 'cause they were shutting everything down and nobody was leaving, and anyway, so it's the weird things that you don't think about. I'm like, hey, I know some people, let me see if I can pull some strings. And she was my friend's actually from California, and she called me and says, do you have any idea? And I go, well, I don't, but I know people that could probably figure it out, so.
We love those things, 'cause it's just, I mean, the pace at which the government operates is so slow, so we don't get to see projects get across the finish line frequently, and casework is one of the few, areas where we can get some wins relatively quickly,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, he also worked a lot on passports for us,
Yeah.
so that's,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, 'cause that's been a huge deal,
Yeah.
and that was your office.
We're happy to help, we love it, we like to get wins.
Okay.
Thank you, guys, it's good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
You too, thanks,
Appreciate your
Kyle.
time. All right, next item on the agenda is consider signing outdoor recreation initiative grant.
Okay, so,
You have that on, pull that up for us?
I'm gonna do the little presentation first,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So this is just general public and information, I guess. The Puffer Lake property's been for sale for 40 years. It's changed hands 2 or 3 times, but always reverts back to the original, or well, not the original owners, but the,
Past owners anyways.
yeah, the past owners. It's kind of a management nightmare. Anybody that knows the place, knows it's kind of a diamond in the rough, but it's private property that when you're up there, you're technically trespassing, but, there's some right-of-ways and that through there, and so, we did a tour here last year, outdoor, rec people, and they kind of put a bug in my ear that, the state has funding available for this kind of stuff for purchasing, and to be honest with you, we'd already kind of had been in conversations with Forest Service. Forest Service was doing the exact same thing, trying to purchase the property, and, in my mind, I think the county, county ownership, county management over this is way better than allowing the federal government to do this. Pursued this, put a presentation together. You can scroll up to the next one. I'll kind of walk through this so everybody knows it's a quick little presentation, but this is the presentation that we put together for the grant process. Puffer Lake is located 22 miles east of Beaver City. The lake is at 9672-foot elevation, surrounded by forest property on the Tush Mountains in Beaver County. The property is easily accessible by the Paiute Trail and State Road 153, which is one of Utah's scenic byways. Beaver County is proposing to purchase Puffer Lake private property in Beaver County. Puffer Lake property is 589.38 acres with spring and underground water rights included in the purchase. There can be year-round access to fishing on the lake, and with the purchase there will be improved public access and opportunity for public access for hunting, camping, and other group events like family reunions, youth groups, etc. There is opportunity to preserve history and restore historic cabins for lakeside access. The lake is surrounded by small fishing cabins that will have to be removed and replaced, but there's plenty of room for new cabins, restrooms, pavilion, and dispersed campsites. Puffer Lake properties are in desperate need of healthy forest management and are in the plan of the Beaver Ranger District Shared Stewardship Program in the very near future. Beaver County's biggest concern is that the property has been targeted for acquisition by the Forest Service, which is not in the best interest of Beaver County or the state of Utah. We do not want or need more federally owned property. Our county is comprised of 87% public land. I'm preaching to the choir, right? You guys, this is this is stuff you probably already know, but, 87% public land and 7,500 residents. We have seen a 75% increase in visitation to other recreational properties under Beaver County management. The Tusher Lake and Myersville Lake campgrounds visitation and revenue significantly increased in the past 3 years. Big shout out to Jen Marshall, who's sitting in the audience here, but, and everybody else that's helped in this. We have been able to capitalize on improvements through the outdoor rec grants and have seen a great return on our investment to the infrastructure at both sites. Investing in our communities and county is good for our souls and theirs. Visitation from residents and non-residents have increased dramatically. Keeping public access and affordability is important to Beaver County. So that's our success story. Outdoor rec has become a vital economic driver to our county and communities. With the recent loss of jobs from our largest employer, we are in desperate need of the employment opportunities and economic drivers. The purchase of this property would also allow for entrepreneurial opportunities. So as far as timeline goes, this is just kind of a off the top of my head kind of outline. If we can acquire this in 2024, we can immediately start on engineering for the campground sites and the general plan. The shared stewardship project work is scheduled starting in 2024 through 26, and that's with Forest Service of the state of Utah. It's already in a plan. Infrastructure will have to come after we get our engineering and our plan done, 24, 25. Dispersed campsite, we can clean some of that up this year. Host site and cabins next year, next 2 years. Pavilion, possibly 2026. RV sites, 2026. So we've already talked to the Outdoor Adventure Commission, the Forest Service, Beaver Ranger District, UDOT, State Forestry and Fire, Department of Natural Resources, and Public Lands Policy Coordinating Office. So this is kind of our budget. Like I said, this is just a wild guess. The original purchase price advertised was $7.2 million. I was hoping we could get them down to $6 million. We actually have got an agreement in place for $5 million. So we were able to save a lot of money on that end. Project design, and like I said, I'm no engineer. I'm not even a pencil pusher of any kind. I can't run a calculator, but just kind of a design, the project design, $100,000, new roads, $300,000, new cabins, $200,000, historic cabin, refurbished, $20,000, campsites, $50,000, water development, $300,000, restrooms, and we know some of this stuff because of the improvements that we've done down at the reservoir. $100,000 for a decent restroom up there, power, which is something that Congresswoman Malloy, we've talked to her about on some of the earmarking and some of the money that we can get from the federal government. Pavilions runs about $40,000, boat dock, storage shed, random equipment like an ATV or something like that maybe. Anyway, so what we requested from the state was up to the $7.2 million. We got 3.5 originally, but they loved the idea, and when they rethought their funding and what the projects that they did fund, they offered us $4 million on the state level. And then there was another grant, so there's 2 grants that we're actually talking about today. One's the Outdoor Rec grant, and the other is the OHV. The OHV is actually a land acquisition grant funded by the state, and we were awarded that for $1 million, which $150,000 of it is cost share on our part. The other one, so is a $4 million straight through, no cost share. So as far as
$5 million in total.
we got, yeah, well, 850.
Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
4.8
Yeah,
acres.
minus
Right, if you minus the 150,000.
Yeah, okay.
But we have, you know, we've been talking about this, we have the I can't say it, LATCF funds, right? That we're holding for these kind of, monumental one-time funding kind of things. So we've got that funding in our account that we need to use, and so we've saved a lot of money. This is money that the county can have skin in the game. We could get right into the design and the planning part. And correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, I'm not sure the earmarking, if that stuff can be reimbursed, or if that's, I think it's more reimbursement instead of,
Grant.
it's something that Connor knows, Connor knows all the details of it.
Well, on the community project funding, it's directly funded, so it will come down through whatever agency and whatever their requirements are, so
Okay. So anyway, this is just the request that we've got. You are grant funding phases. The people on the state level, the committees that I've presented to, are in love with this project, and they want to keep throwing money at us. But I said, so just let us get it locked in and done, and then we'll look at our planning process. So, let's see, what's left? Is that the last slide? Can't remember. Well, we already did all this, right? Well, let's see, no, not really. So the scope of this project is huge to Beaver County and beyond what we can afford on our own. Our cost share would be $1 million in the beginning. This property would provide year-round public access to anyone in Utah and is easily accessible by UDOT highway and a significant trail system. Forest Service campgrounds on the Tusher Mountains have been fully booked, and this will provide additional improved campsites and affordable cabins for rustic camping. The property will be open to the public with low fees on camping and no day fees for hunting, hiking, and access to the lake for fishing or boating. Property sits solely in Beaver County, and we have a good working relationship with Forest Service on management. We are shovel ready if we can get the funding for the acquisition. We've been coordinating with the Beaver Ranger District on shared stewardship program funds to address the forest health component, and they are on schedule to start that within the next year. I don't know if I need to read all of that. One of the things, our county's Ramblers tourism motto is to ramble responsibly. We have been encouraging all visitors to take care of our home and take good care of themselves in the process. We will be investing in new signage that will be marking more trails, and specifically for our spectacular winter access for snowmobiling and cross-country skiing. Okay, I don't know if anybody's got any questions, but that was the presentation.
Very good.
So we actually, 2 different grant processes we were awarded. So, so the first one is the Outdoor Recreation Initiative grant. And so that's for the $4 million.
Leo, did you read this grant, or somebody? It's just 36 pages.
It was a lot. Yeah, he responded, what was his?
I read it, it's a lot. Is there any questions on it? Do you have any questions on it?
I've got a few questions.
Okay. What you got?
And so, I guess the thing I picked up on reading the contract is we have to sign that conservation easement. There's no ifs, ands, or we have to sign that.
Right.
And once we sign that conservation easement, whoever holds that conservation easement really controls the property. They control what can happen on that property, which I think is okay because it fits the scope of what we're trying to do. The concern I had is the state said the state can hold the title to the easement, or they can designate another entity to hold that title. I don't know what that means. It sounds like they can let somebody else hold the title of that easement,
That would be us.
just the county, not the Sierra Club or somebody else.
No, because we're the ones that are signing the contract with them. So
So whoever
that's where the
signs the contract
designation
holds
is.
it, maybe?
It's a contract between us and the state, because the state is funding it, but under our management.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Leo?
Well, it looks like it's set up where it can be assigned, but it has to be an engineer that's set up to enforce the conservation process. So it's the specific set of maybe the Washington some section like, anything type of conservation.
And that would be the outdoor rec to start with. That's who we would sign the conservation easement with. Which they would probably manage that because they have a vested interest in that.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Which is what we want to do.
Yeah,
We want to do
we're at Park City.
Right. Right.
I know one of the questions that I had was that, and I gotta find where, I can't even find it where I sent you guys and you and Juan answered me. Yeah.
That was the,
About special assessment areas that we have to.
Give credit to them when they.
Right, yeah, you
And
have
that's
to
fine.
acknowledge that's where the money came from and all of that.
You put on your signage, and that's okay.
Right.
You do that.
page 5, number 8, I believe.
I'm looking at wrong interpretation on my email.
Read that one, Commissioner Christian, see if I can reference that.
Grantee shall acknowledge state funding in all news releases and other publicity issued by grantee concerning the project. If any events are planned in relationship to the project, the state shall be acknowledged as a contributor in the invitation for the events. Grantee will notify the state of any such publicity events at least 30 days prior to when they occur. Grantee shall cooperate with the state in preparing public information pieces, providing slides and photos of the project from time to time, and providing access to the property for, there's too many P's, publicity purposes to the extent allowed by the landowner. The state has the right and shall be provided the opportunity to use any and all information gained from the project at its sole discretion. So the conversations that I've had with the attorney who wrote this, they are also beholden to us. Like, my biggest worry is that they don't get ahead of the game and start advertising before we have anything done. Because, we've found that out with COVID and everything else. If you're not prepared for people showing up, it's a disaster. And so I've already talked to them about nobody's going to be advertising this until we actually get some stuff done on the ground. There's a lot of things, and I think the first thing that we need to do is put a committee together and decide what we want done there, and get somebody hired that's a lot smarter than me, that can do the design and engineering and planning and all of that kind of stuff. But those are the kind of things that the county can put their money into.
So the promotion won't happen until we
we're ready.
give them the green light?
Yep.
That's a good question,
Yeah.
because we don't want to invite 10,000 people in
No.
our place one mistake.
Well,
Or 1,000
that's what-
people.
That's what, Obama did to Bears Ears, and look how that blew up. That was a mess. So, no, we don't want to do this. We want to protect it and take good care of our little diamond and the rest up there.
Can we look at that promotion? I believe it's page 12 on M.
Which one?
Oh, I want to. Oh, she's on page 12, the ABCD, as far as goes.
What's the letter?
M.
M.
you want me to read that one?
Sure.
The grantee shall notify the state of the public opening date, and upon the public opening of the project, the grantee shall make every effort to make the public aware of the project's existence with appropriate publicity and marketing. Such publicity can include, but is not limited to, the grand opening ceremony, a press release to the local media or social media outlets to appropriately promote the public use of the project. And I guess the question there is, will that happen on a local level and not on a state level?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I've already had all those conversations.
Good.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to advertise bigger than what we can handle.
Yeah.
They can promote it, but kind of under the direction.
It'll be on their website, I think, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not gonna be, well, and that was, you know, that's always been my, concern, is that we're very cautious how we advertise this, because it's not a big area, and, it's kind of a funny deal with the OHV group. I had several odd questions there. There was one guy, we don't need to spend money on a lake, we're not buying a lake. And I said, you're right, we're not buying a lake. We're providing access and preserving access to a lake and through the property. So, you know, we'll be able to do a lot of things there, but I do have a question for you though. Because you're probably more familiar with the property than anybody else, possibly. Maybe clarify what the water in the lake is. Because the way I understand it is, it doesn't leave, it's a natural lake. It doesn't, like, it's not measured or distributed as far as irrigation or whatever, and it's not technically a dam that can allow, I mean, it allows for overflow, but not measured water. You know, the water's not dispersed or utilized anywhere. Eventually, but it's not like you can open a gate and turn it loose or whatever. Yeah, there's no control over it, you know.
Well, that's why it's critical to analyze what the situation's gonna be with the purchase. I heard that, the sellers do have some water rights that they might include with the purchase, but all those water rights are owned by Elk Meadow Service District. And so we have a banking agreement with them, and so Elk Meadows has a banking agreement with them, and so they just have to designate if they, you know, like if it's supposed to go to some project, they designate who they transfer the water right to. But we actually, when I say we, I mean Elk Meadows Special Service District owns all of the water that the seller has up there on the mountain, and that's just all water that has been moved up from the valley. So it's available, so we need to know how you would develop that. Would you let the service district deliver the water to you somehow, or you?
So the way I understand that, the only water that will come with the property is 15 acre feet that's not tied to Elk Meadows.
Well,
and there's a whole
that
other
15 acre feet is 77-1776, which Elk Meadows owns. She transferred it to us, but it's not as high a priority as the other water that they own up there. And so I don't know whether that's negotiable, about whether, you know, she's willing to give you, she's selling that other water at $25,000 an acre foot for development up there, and she has about 140 something acre feet of that. And so we just have to figure out what would be the easiest way to do it. Do you know how the water is provided at Tusher Lake? Is that a well, or is that a?
It's a natural flow from Kent.
It's a spring.
Is it?
Spring,
So it's
yeah,
a
it just
spring?
comes down from Kent's Lake and, yeah, then it comes in.
So Elk Meadows has a spring, right, they call it the Bucker Lake Spring.
Right.
So they're, developing all that water, so it's right there ready, and in good shape, to be used for the development. And so she would have to assign that water right to you as part of the purchase. But, if we had any say in it, I'd prefer one water right over another one, because the other one, she set up there around 1998, and has never developed it. And I just barely last October filed an extension on that, and it was granted until 2030, but, it needs to be proved up on by 2030, so if it's that 77-1776.
How do you remember that?
I think that's.
It's been a long time invested in that, that's why.
77 dash, what?
1776. Is the water right that she has had up there for some time. But
So-
I'm not sure what the priority date on that is.
Right.
The other water is all 1870 priority, which is the best priority date.
Right.
So, but anyway, that's something we can talk to her about when we're down to.
Right. Okay.
So on the water, just to clarify, the last conversation we had, we were not actually purchasing any water rights. There was gonna be some water that she would donate back to the county, is that right?
Yeah, the last conversation, they, tax-wise or whatever, the family wants to gift the 15 acre feet.
Okay.
So then we really don't have any say on what they give to us, right? Leo, is that?
Well, we can ask her.
We can ask her.
There's no harm in asking. I know what the water is, but yeah, she's getting 25,000 per acre foot for that other water. That's what her going price is, and she sold 4 or 5 acre feet of that to people that were developing cabins over on the other side of the mountain in the resort area.
Okay.
But as far as the water in Pumpkin Lake, I agree with you, that's just there and it's available for use.
Well, and
Nobody really owns it.
the conversation that Joyce has had consists annually with DWR is that they'll, as long as everybody provides the access to the water, they will continue to plant fish in it every year. So, anyway, we should.
Okay, more questions?
Yeah, just a few other things I have written down. On page 14, the license to promote. This, I just want to read this and make sure everybody make sure I understand it right. The grantee gives to state a perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, transferable, royalty-free, and non-exclusive license to publicly promote, display the name of, and otherwise refer to the grantee and their project for any reasonable purpose, including display on state websites without any attribution or compensation to the grantee. The grantee agrees to acknowledge state funding in publications or presentations. So the way I read that, it makes it not a local campground. They can advertise it. Hopefully they don't advertise it heavily, but it's not just going to be a local campground.
Well, and I think that's the same conversation that we have on Tusher, because Forest Service does the same thing, right, Jim? So it's available on state websites or, well, federal websites and stuff with.
But we're not sending
Tusher.
flyers out to all the
No.
Wasatch.
No.
And I think that's fine.
Yes.
They have a big investment in this.
Everything that I've heard, or all of the conversations that I've had, is they will follow our lead on this.
Okay. So now into their conservation easement part, I just had a couple of legal questions Leo today, I guess.
Which part is that?
It just says conservation easement, I didn't write down what page that was on.
Is that one of the,
Attachments.
general attachment, yeah.
Oh, here we go. The deed? What conservation is that?
Yeah, so that fourth whereas paragraph. Do you want me to read that one, or Leo?
You want me to read it?
Leo, you look
I
at
haven't
that.
read yet.
Yeah, wait, Mark,
Sure,
take
read
your
it.
turn.
Maybe I can't read either. So whereas the property constitutes, that's it? That one?
Yes.
Valuable recreation values, including public access to existing roads and trails for safe access to and on the property, cabins for public use, improved public campsites and public RV sites, a public group area with a pavilion, public restrooms, a public water recreation facility, and conservation values, including forested and other natural resources on the property, which are collectively referred to hereinafter as recreation/conservation values.
So my question is, today, all we have up there are roads and trails.
Right.
Correct.
Does that other stuff need to be in the conservation easement as of today? Or is that for future?
It's for the future, that would just be your,
Going forward probably,
I
right?
feel like it's better to have those listed than not to,
Okay.
because basically, when you talk about a conservation, easement, you're basically saying, we're not gonna touch all this, so all of those things that we're listing are the recreation part of it that are being allowed.
exactly, yeah.
So
Okay.
it's better to list them than to not list them.
We had this conversation, and I think that's why I was really, maybe have too big of ideas for some of this, but most conservation easements are like designating a wilderness area.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, like there's no improvement. And so I think that they've listed, and I don't think they've missed anything that we would want there. And we might not get it all done, but at least it allows for it.
So if we do it, it's covered. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Exactly.
There was one more that talked about the timber, harvesting the timber and the timber management plan. Talked about the cost that had to be prepared by the natural resource manager at the grantor's expense. And I don't know what that would cost to have a timber management plan, or how long that would take.
That's gonna be,
Is that under forest management there, is that what?
I can't remember where.
Right there.
Let's see,
I didn't write the page down.
I think
I had
it's
slept
right
for a
there.
while when I read this.
Right, and cut trees for posts and poles.
No, there was.
That says that we may do that. Let's see.
Oh, then the next
That's
That's the
paragraph.
next paragraph.
Okay.
I think that forest health is important, but we don't want
Well,
this to be a 10-year process. We need to do
no, and
something.
I don't think it will be, it's already under the shared stewardship plan.
Okay,
So I think most of this stuff's already done, because that's something that goes through forestry and fire with, let's see, second, George Humphreys and,
so do we have a timber management plan on that area?
probably,
Okay, that would help a whole bunch
Yeah.
to not have to
Yeah.
wait for that plan.
yeah, I think that's already in the works. I think this has been coming for a long time. The shared stewardship ties all of this together.
Okay, couple other questions. Going forward, I think we're gonna have some staff on site. I know that's a ways down the road, I just wanted to make sure I was thinking correctly. Jen's stretched pretty far as it is to have
Jen,
one
is there more
more.
of you? Just kidding.
Have you-
No, but I have an idea, you can write a grant for more people.
Can you stretch a little longer? Can you stretch a little longer?
Yeah.
Do a little more. There's
Uh-huh.
24 hours in a day, Jen. We know
I
that as
know.
farmers.
There's more than 24, isn't there?
Sometimes there is.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, it's all the management plan, I think, down the road, right?
And I think that committee that you mentioned, that's important to make sure everybody gets on board and understands going forward. The other question I had was on the insurance. I don't know how we insure that property. If there is a lightning strike after we purchase this property and it burns up the hill and gets into those cabins on the, you know, in that area, I don't know what the liability of that looks like. Do you guys, can you answer that?
Well, we have general liability through the county insurance pool.
Would that be, if the premiums increase once we purchase this property?
Possibly. They'll take the appraisal, or they'll come up and do an appraisal. They usually do an appraisal every 4 to 5 years on all of our properties. And then they'll probably determine the rates. Yeah, they'll just do an assessment then. So, but there is, you know, a general liability that's already exists for all of our properties. So we need to add it to it. We'll probably have to share a copy of the appraisal that has been done during a purchase. And then they'll probably just use that appraisal for the time being until, you know, 4 or 5 years, and then they'll reappraise again.
Okay.
They expect us to own recreational properties.
Right.
So it's not something.
It's not outside of our scope of what we do, okay?
Right.
That's it? That's it. As I read through this, I had obviously a lot of questions, and I, just reading on some of, like, the state holds a first right of refusal if we decide to sell the property because they have that investment in there. They want to promote, which is okay because they have that investment in there. As I read it, I had the question of, are we, like, is the state getting what they want out of this and we're just kind of the workhorse, or are we getting what we want out of the state? And you guys have answered a lot of questions. I think it has to be a collaborative effort. We have to all work together to make it happen. So,
Well, the one thing that I was really careful of, and I think we've made wise decisions on this, is we have really good partners. With Forest Service, with Elk Meadows, with Eagle Point, with UDOT, with the state. But we want to be in the driver's seat. That's where I'm sitting. When I first ran this up the flagpole, State Parks was all over this. And I'm like, you already have a state park, and you gave it back, and you made a mess of it. I mean, we're really glad we got it, and we're really glad that we're the ones that are managing it. And like I said, Jen, you know, and everybody else has put their time and effort and money into it. You know, it's just very well managed. I can see the exact same thing here. They got a new state parks guy, super nice guy, you know, wants to be helpful and whatever, and I'm like, I'll have you help us when we need you, but you just stay back here and watch us go. So, anyway.
What we went through with the Tusher recreational thing, when we got, you know, we managed all of the improvements, we got all the help to do all of the
For years
improvements,
and years,
and then all of a
they
sudden,
just jerked it out from under.
jumped down and took control over it, and we were not happy about that, and
No.
we kind of gotten back.
Well, what happened is when we got the new district ranger, and I'm about, at least this is what I try to focus on, is building relationships and building what's gonna be good for all of us, but specifically Beaver County. So when we got the new ranger, because the ranger before him, she's like, oh, we ain't touching this, this is the way it is, and the federal government, it was a mess, and so we went and talked to Jared, and he goes, well, I didn't know you guys had it before. And I go, yeah, it was wonderful before, but the reservation system now is a nightmare, and so we worked through those issues. It didn't take us very long to work with him through it, you know, and it's been great ever since. I mean, it's still, you know, it's still a heavy lift sometimes, but what a beautiful
So
campground.
personnel driven, this new person comes in and all of a sudden.
Right. So that's the whole purpose behind my thought process on getting this, is the county, we need to start investing in our own county and being the ones driving what we want to drive and take care of our own place. So Anyway, can I make a motion?
Any other questions? Yeah, yes, we.
I have one more quick, do we have a purchase agreement? Did the seller sign, everything's good that way?
Yeah, they signed it before they even said.
For the earnest money, okay.
Yeah, that's all done. So how that's all set up is, she wrote the check, well, you tell.
So we signed the easement agreement. The purchase agreement, yeah. The earnest money agreement. Took a check out of the title company. Now this $4 million will go directly to the title company. They'll hold it
In an
trust.
escrow account.
Yeah, they'll hold it in an escrow account until the full purchase is complete.
Okay.
So,
But now, we're gonna talk about 2 grants, though, right?
Correct.
One for and one for the $1 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, sorry, now we're ready for a motion.
okay.
Well, I would suggest your motion be a little bit broad, so that whoever needs to sign it, because that's a lot of paperwork, and I'm not sure how the signatures need to go on it, but just make that broader, that the appropriate officers sign the agreement.
Can I just say what he said? Can I make that motion?
Can you just do that and have Commissioner Pearson's motion?
Making a motion that the appropriate officers sign the outdoor recreation initiative grant.
And the OHB land
Can I
acquisition
do
grant?
both in the same motion, or
Two
do them
separate
separately?
motions for each one.
Okay, yeah, we should do it separately, but the same wording.
So I got a
Okay.
motion?
Yes, you have a
Okay.
motion.
Have a second?
So, yes, I will second, and I will explain my second. I know I've been kind of a pain in the butt on this one, Commissioner Pearson. I've been dragging my feet. I've been wanting to get a lot of questions answered. Thank you for taking the time to answer the questions and go through this. And I agree with you 100%. This is better owned locally than letting it go back to the federal government. So I will second the motion, and I will support the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Commissioner Pearson, aye.
Commissioner Yardley, aye.
Commissioner Holland said aye, and I do echo Commissioner Yardley's comments, and I also appreciate Commissioner Pearson with a lot of time and effort in this. I do think staying in our control is gonna be better than any state or federal, and it'll be just a great place for a lot of people to enjoy for years to come, so I agree with that.
I can't wait for our grand opening.
And then one more, consider our OHB land acquisition grant as well. Take a motion on that, which is the other $1 million.
Right.
850.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
yes,
that's,
yes.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
850,000.
Total.
Yeah. So I will also make the motion to approve the signing of the year-round OHV land acquisition grant with all the appropriate officers' signatures.
Signatures, thank you.
I will second that motion as well.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Yardley, aye.
Oh, Commissioner Pearson, aye.
Commissioner Holland said aye. Perfect. Thank you very much. A lot of good work there, we appreciate it. All right, a little behind, sorry, come on up, you two. Christian, thanks for being here today, forward update.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I guess I know where I'm planning my,
You could have slept in a little longer, or you could have drove a little slower.
Have you ever driven with her?
I have not. Oh, maybe we're still waiting. Last night.
No, not
No,
that.
no,
We
no.
got a long time here last night, you know, I mean,
Last night,
you
yeah.
could have neutral, could have got here. All right, go ahead, sorry.
For the record, I'm Christopher Cassis, I'm the marketing communication for Top Forest.
And I'm Gosha Scarborough.
Thank you, go right ahead.
Could we have the next slide, please? Okay. So as you know, in April, we did a stimulation and a circulation test. So the stimulation was a commercial scale test. It was conducted on both the injection and production wells, 16A, 7832, and 16B, 7832. And there were a total of 10 different stages at different depths that were stimulated. And that was followed immediately by a 9-hour circulation test, where we had 118,000 barrels, or about 5 million gallons, of water that was, injected. It's important for us to note that was non-potable water. That water came from the water well we drilled. You can't, no one can use that water. It is horrible. It can't be used by humans.
How do you know it's horrible? Did you test it?
I tested it personally.
Well, it's non-potable.
He's still alive.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
The cows did fine, they were okay.
Yeah. Trust me, Commissioner Garland, like, I don't want any spillage anywhere. Last thing I need.
Yeah, the cows better not get it.
The cows don't like it. So, again, that was non-potable. And we had 70% of the water come back to the surface at temperatures, hot enough to generate electricity.
Yay!
Which means the stimulation and circulation tests were huge successes. And during the month of April, our project injected into Beaver County's economy, almost all of which went to Milford, $520,000. And since the beginning of the year, add another about $45,000 that the project has brought to the county. So we're very proud to give back to the community that's given so much back to us. Next slide, please. Awesome. So just a couple of pictures to show you guys. The top picture, the really cool one, that's steam coming out of the ground from cold water we put in. Mother Nature heated it up, and it's coming back up. And just some guys working in those great harpoon tanks and some pipes there.
But that's where we stored the water. That it took a while to extract the water, obviously pump it out. So that's where the water was stored.
Next slide, please. So we got a lot of coverage for that. We put out a press release, and it was covered in a lot of different publications and newspapers. You may have even seen it on ABC4 here not too long ago as well. The Desert News, Salt Lake Tribune, and national company or outlets as well.
Awesome.
So what's coming up? Well, we're going to do a longer-term circulation test of about 30 days or so. We'll put, again, water injected into the injection well, 16A, and produce it back in 16B. That water is, again, that non-potable water sitting in ponds we built out there right now. And this will allow us to get a better idea of the connectivity between the wells and the efficiency of the heat extraction. And other important news, phase 4. Phase 3 officially ends because we have a little bit behind, it's supposed to end in July, it will end about September. Phase 4 will start on October 1st. We are funded for an additional 4 years. We are currently...
You did get your funding.
We do have funding, yep.
Okay.
We can always use more though, Commissioner.
Okay, well, you have
I
three people back here that can help you on that.
We are currently, like I said, funded for an additional 4 years. I don't know the number off the top of my head. It is, right now they're working on what's called a SOPO, a Statement of Project Objective, like a scope of work, right? What is in there for sure, or being discussed, is to drill a third deep deviated well, to do more stimulation and circulation tests, and Dr. Moore wanted to make sure that we said continued outreach and communications. And he does send his greetings. He's at a conference in the Netherlands right now, and his wife said, and then we're going on vacation. So they're...
I think that's last words.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a vacation?
That doesn't sound like it might be one.
Well, from there, they're going to go to Scotland and hang out, and so. Community outreach, so you know what Ghost and I have been up to, or up to. We did the poster contest. We presented the students. One of them is related to you, I think, right?
Possible.
Possible little
He
girl.
does have a few.
I do have a few
Family
relatives.
members in the
Yeah.
A couple. We didn't know that at the time, obviously. They did really amazing work. So what they had to do after Ghost and I presented, they wrote 1 or 2 paragraphs about geothermal energy, and then they illustrated it somehow. They were fun, they were creative. They are now displayed in the 3 local libraries, so Bellmaster and Beavers, and we did the rest of it. So I can't remember what month it was. April, I think, we hosted the U.S. Deputy Secretary of
I was
Energy.
gonna say, you've had a lot of traffic through here.
Yeah, we had
We were
a
popular.
A lot of big title
Yeah,
people.
he came with other DOE officials and representatives from the oil and gas industry. And then Joe, a couple weeks ago, provided a tour of the site to different state legislators. I think they were all from the state house, and the state senators were able to come. DNR, OED, DOGM, those kinds of groups came as well. And lastly, we'll see everybody at the county fair next couple months, so looking forward to it. Is there any, that's it? Nope,
That's it?
That's it. Oh, no, there's, I knew I had a little bit.
There you go.
More
Any
statements.
answer, any questions for anyone?
I have something to say.
Yes, sir.
Yasu Chris Calimera.
Yasu Calimera, do anything.
Wow.
What was that?
Great, I even have to translate.
That's
There
not
are
even
only
German, is
two
it?
kinds of people in the world, those who are Greek and those who wish they were.
I took her last name like.
Working with him.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she has to hear this constantly, so.
Did you teach that to him?
Her?
Oh, which one have you taught?
Oh.
He's a Greek one.
Well, I know, but I'm just thinking.
I'm just trying to learn.
Are you just learning now?
But someday I'll tell you about my trip to Greece.
I would love to. I was in a small little village and we pulled over and asked where someone was. And, the person who was driving it said, Americans, what do you do there? And he pointed to me and he said, you're a cousin, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, apparently it looks a lot like my grandfather's side of the family. So, any other questions?
We appreciate everything you guys do, and tickled that things are going well.
We are too. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I hope you gentlemen have
So
a
your
good
four,
Father's Day.
one question, what your 4 years of funding takes you to where?
For the-
I was thinking that,
2030?
I was thinking it was,
Only.
I think it's 28.
oh, is it only 28?
It's 28, yeah.
Oh, I was thinking
We
it was
are,
past
I
that.
mean.
And it's not as much as we hoped for, so
Yeah.
unfortunately.
They're in the back still.
Yeah, we were, so in the Energy Act of 2020, President Trump signed the military has the right to extend it to 2032. At this stage, she has extended it to.
28.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
All right.
but there's still.
Well, these guys in the back better start working on that.
They have it.
That was my screensaver right there.
Aww. Excellent, all right, thank you very much, everyone.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a
guys.
wonderful day. Thank you.
See you in a couple months.
Okay. Anything else? Ginger? Leo? Do you have anything else for us? Stephanie? Commissioner? Pearson? John?
No, I'm good, thank you.
We could just mention that the fair is in August on, what date is that exactly? Just, I mean, I know we have another month for that, but it's gonna come
The
quickly, so.
22nd through the 24th.
22nd to 24th.
Of
All right,
August.
perfect. Are we closing this meeting and opening that meeting? And then starting again, exactly? Okay. All right. Meeting adjourned. We'll be back in 5 minutes for our next meeting. Maybe 3.
I come over here to see what's going on. I was tired of it. Yes, you will. Oh, the beer tent?
No. Thanks so much.
Are you staying for this one, or the 25th?
Yeah, I'm there.
It's good for the duration.
It is. The watershed restoration initiative? You're all right. Yeah, you're all right. I don't know where we're starting, to be honest with you. Yeah, I asked for date placement.
I don't know if I won't show up, but they're all invited.
The last couple of years, we started, last year, what's it?
I learned just to send you calendar invites. There's like, just send that to his calendar.
Yes, like 8 or 9 in the morning. Sometimes my emails. Sure, we were stuck on Beaver Mountain. Well, that was a good tour, though. Did you say you don't know? It was a really good. So right now. Yeah, for sure. I told Malcolm, the following Tuesday, my Tuesdays generally are good. Tuesdays and Fridays do now. How did you think about Mr. Otis? Really?
Yeah.
So my question is, Forest Committee talk to you too?
Well, we can talk all the time.
Real quick, so if I forget, we have got to get you guys together on that. I think today's the last day of comment for the federal register and comment on this new search and rescue OSHA proposal that they're trying to do. The feds are actually trying to come in and make it to where all of the search and rescue people have to basically be certified in wildlands fire, certified EMT type stuff. All of our volunteers, especially the older guys that just do like traffic and stuff like that, it would decimate our search and rescue. We would not have such a group. So every Western State Sheriff's Association, the Utah Sheriff's Association, if you can get on there and find a comment, I'll email you a link that where it is to it, and just make a comment on how detrimental it would be to our county and how much we do utilize them, because we use it for, I mean, all the time. That's what I said, I'll send you guys, well, I think the due date is, I just got told.
I checked in the city office,
We
but
talked
no
about
issue
the Sheriff's
still
Association.
amongst us
Yesterday, so.
They told me they had to send you a little message, kind of give you directions to the city office.
Yeah, we got lots of flyers.
Yeah, Alicia said,
You told that now.
I'd send it in a heartbeat.
See, as soon as I walked in, they both gave it to me.
Yeah, she said, you see, no, I just looked at the obituaries and you.
And I was just
So I said,
good to see you.
So I can keep my things. I brought them down.
I think, yeah, it could be set for that. I wish we could.
How are you?
Holy cow.
Like they said,
welcome everyone. Welcome to our Beaver County Council of Governments discussion for the next hour or so. We're really glad that you're here with us, those who've been invited, those government entities and such. If you don't mind, I would rather than this be more like a roundtable, so the mayors, if you would come up to here, sheriff, whoever else needs to be up this way.
I get the corner. Hey, all right, good. I'll go first. Okay.
You set the corner.
We'll throw a board in the middle.
Yeah, two cities that we gave, would be great. I think Superintendent David Long is coming possibly. Yeah, he can sit up here if he wants.
You gotta introduce yourself. Don't get him too far away.
What's Steve doing?
He's here.
Hi, Steve. Who's Steve?
Steve Waldrop, housing.
All right, first on our agenda, we're gonna have a discussion about housing, or for housing, or in housing, or how bad housing is, one of the three. Or all the above.
All of the above.
Where's Steve? Steve, if you would just give us an introduction, then you can take the floor. Superintendent, you can come sit up here if you like.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Steve.
Sheriff, I'll be more.
While he's connecting, I will say, I think this is a great meeting for us to get together to just bounce ideas and thoughts and see where we're at with everything involved, so thanks for making time to be here, those who are here, and those in the audience as well.
Yeah, my sound should be on. Not showing that I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, all right, good, okay. No, thank you, for inviting me to do this. This is, really helpful to have a chance to get feedback from, different parts of the state, because everybody's dealing with their own set of situations in housing, obviously, and you know, some places have one problem and some places have another, but every place has something going on with housing. And, so as we create, policy, you know, it's really tough to create statewide policy, let alone housing, which is, you know, one of the most challenging things that we're dealing with right now. You know, given the interest rate issues we have and the requirements, liquidity restrictions, plus we've got, the material explosions and labor shortages and all kinds of great, fun things that we're dealing with housing. What would be the best way, for me to do this? So, just introduce myself, I'm Steve Waldrop, I'm the Governor's Housing Policy Advisor. I've been in this role for about 6 months. Prior to this, I was in the legislature, for 4 years. I was the Commission Housing Affordability Chair. I have a social benefit fund, that I co-founded that, works on housing for, ownership for, what used to be the middle income world, and used to not have to have anymore. Now our teachers and our police officers and firefighters and all of those, that whole category of middle income, Utah, can't get into housing at all. So, you know, it's something that I've been focusing on for quite some time. So it's an interesting area. There's a lot of moving parts in this. And so part of the goal is to try to create solutions without doing more harm. And that's a challenge. Anytime the government gets involved in things, there's the potential for unintended consequences, and so trying really hard to avoid those. Would you, and I've spoken and given kind of a presentation at a lot of different meetings. I don't know if everyone here has seen kind of the baseline presentation around housing, if that's something we should go over again, or if you want to just do a discussion format.
guess maybe what the state's looking at doing a little bit, and then some discussion, and then some concerns or questions that we may have in our specific area. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. So, in the past legislative session, so in the 2024 session, there were several things passed around housing. There was kind of a suite of bills passed around housing that, the focus is and will, for the foreseeable future, continue to be on supply. In Utah, we have somewhere between a 35 and 50,000 housing unit shortage. So we're,
Steve,
we're
question.
dealing with a massive shortage.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
how is that determined? How is that number determined?
Well, it's Gardner Policy Institute. They're the keepers of the numbers in Utah generally. There are other national institutions. I've seen estimates as high as 70,000 units in Utah. But I've just kind of stuck with the Gardner Policy ones, and that means that we have that many more households than we have places for households to live. And, you know, I mean, it's dead accurate, but it also lines up with the national trend where nationally we're looking at a $2 to $3 million or 2 to 3 million unit housing shortage. And then each county obviously is going to have a different story. You know, when you look down in your area, a couple ways to look at it. One is, you know, how many people are doubled up essentially in your county? How many doubled up families do you have, or housing units do you have? I mean, that could be an adult child who's living in a basement, or you know, above a garage, or still living with their parents in some fashion, or with another family member. It could be multiple family units renting a home together. You know, you go to, you know, I know in Fillmore and Delta, there's job availability, but, you know, a lot of job openings, but no housing to help fill those jobs. So, you know, there's kind of multiple facets to how that, you know, how that calculation is done, but it's consistent with what we're seeing across the country.
Okay.
So that's been the focus, is on the supply end of things rather than on the demand side. Obviously, there are issues on the demand side with interest rates, you know, sticking at around 7-ish, which, you know, is normal historically, but we've been in an abnormal historical, you know, setting. So we just have a real focus on trying to create enough supply so that as demand continues to increase, and we know Utah, you know, historically and kind of, again, by the numbers, this Gardner Policy Institute, again, estimates, and the legislative audit actually confirmed this, about 28,000 housing units per year are needed in Utah, about 28,000 total new units. And we did a really good job with this issue right up to the time when interest rates spiked. So 2021, we had 37,000 and some odd housing starts. And 2022, we had 30,000 housing starts, but 2023, we dropped down to, 2023, we dropped down to about 19,000. 2024, we're looking in the mid-teens. So our deficit is increasing rather than decreasing from a statewide perspective. And again, you know, specific to your area, you know, the focus for me in your area is job availability and lack of housing. And that's kind of a you know, an interesting and unique thing in rural Utah and in many of the areas in our more rural areas where there just isn't options. And so on the supply side there, it's really, and Beaver City?
Mountain City.
Down.
We have all of them.
All three of them.
Everybody.
Yes, everybody.
And the sheriff.
That's the right answer.
Beaver County Jail.
That's our biggest city.
I guess, may I make a comment here real quick? Steve?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
This Commissioner Holling said, so, I mean,
Back around.
you've kind of already mentioned this, though, I mean, I feel like whenever government gets involved in housing, it can get sticky and slow and takes a long time, long processes, or the process is long sometimes. What can we do, you know, as a state or the county to maybe, you know, you talk about interest rates and maybe there are something that the states can do to take off some policy or red tape that will allow first-time homeowners or buyers or someone to get different rates or different loans or that allows that, I mean, that's probably the easiest and the quickest way that maybe a government could get involved to some degree, because I'm not sure government needs to be involved in housing altogether all the time, that's just my opinion, but certainly we want to have individuals do that and individuals, you know, contractors and business that profit from that, but what can the state do to facilitate that effort, I guess, or are they doing something?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and it kind of begs a couple of questions in front of it. So, one of the issues that frankly concerns me is that if we had an interest rate environment where all of a sudden we had back down to 3% interest rates, with the supply constraint that we have, we would, in all likelihood, see housing prices shoot up again. The state does have, we do have the $20,000 home buyer assistance, first-time home buyer assistance fund, that, you know, that is sitting at Utah Housing Corp. So that's $20,000 in either down payment assistance or rate buy-down, or can be used for closing costs. So that's one tool that's already in place. I actually just joined the board of Utah Housing Corp. And back in the, you know, we've just done a little bit of research, and back in the 80s when interest rates were in the 11s and 12s and 13s, Utah Housing Corp had some loan programs that bought down interest rates and created opportunity for people with, you know, with interest rates that are, you know, that were 4 or 5%. I think that's right, 3 to 5% below market. So that's something that we're looking into as well. But again, you know, the question is, if we have a supply constraint and we put more fuel onto the fire on the buyer's side, are we going to create more of a problem with housing prices increasing because we're creating more demand than we have supply in that, you know, in that equation? You know, and the challenge there is, you know, we had this environment where we had interest rates of 2 and 3 and 4% in Utah. We have about 72% of our homeowners have mortgage rates of less than 4% right now. So we kind of have a lot of people locked in on that low end of the rate schedule. So that means when they're ready to, you know, move up and move on, they're not going to do it, because then you're going, you know, you're going backwards as you grow. So that's the real, I mean, that is a real challenge, is not, you know, again, not creating more of a problem than we're solving by focusing solely on the demand side. You know, the interesting thing is housing is the most government-regulated thing that happens, probably, at least from the standpoint of every level of government touches housing, from the federal government to the state, county, to the city, to down all the way to the HOA. You know, there's a ton of government involvement in housing, so it's really tough to say there's a free market. So the biggest, I mean, the number one thing is really just saying, okay, the best thing we can do as government is to peel back regulation and kind of back off and allow industry and business to do more of what they do, which is figure out solutions to problems when there's a market opportunity. And there's certainly a market opportunity right now, so, you know, the best thing we can do is kind of get out of the way of that. But at the same time, we have a couple of artificial constraints in the market right now. And one is, historically, the median home price has been about 3 times to 3.4 times the median wage. And that's the last 100 years. That's been the story. And so our entire financing structure, our entire model is built around that ratio. And right now, in Utah, for instance, we're about 6.5 times the median home price versus the median wage. So we're so far out of whack with what is normal that you know, there's this massive market distortion kind of going on because interest rates were so artificially low that housing prices bumped up way faster than wages could keep up. And so now that interest rates have gone back to a normal level, I mean, what we would consider normal historically, we now have this situation where housing prices aren't reflective at all of wages. And so you're highlighting the exact issue there with on the demand side. What are we going to do? I think we do need to create financing solutions, and they probably need to be targeted financing solutions for first-time home buyers like we've done. So we're not just pouring fuel on the entirety of the market, but focused on more on the first-time home buyers. The $20,000 is a good first step there, but it's clearly not enough to get people over the hump when, you know, when the median home price in Utah is, you know, $500,000 plus. In your county, I'm trying to remember what the median home price is. I want to say it's $375, if I remember right. That sound right? You guys down there?
385, 385.9.
385?
385. Yeah. So, you know, and obviously, you know, median wage down there, you're not, you know, it's still way out of whack.
41.2.
So really, you're looking at, you know, 2 income families having to pool assets in order to even afford rent, let alone a, you know, 20% for down payment is not possible for most people. I mean, there's a myriad of issues. So, what we created at the state level is, number one, we created and we're the first state in, I think, 28 years to adopt a uniform schedule for modular home construction, so off-site home construction. We are allowing the builders to bring in inspectors into their factories, have the inspections done in the factory, so that all of that is done so that when it's delivered, let's say to your cities or counties, that whole set of things is done, and all you have to look at are the attachments and kind of, you know, how whatever's on site, rather than having to go in and either assume or pull back things, you know, that are built in a factory. So that's something I think that will help in the modular world, which I do think is going to be a huge key for rural Utah solutions. We're going to have to bring in more off-site constructed housing. I don't know, you know, it's just so difficult to see that, you know, that we get any big builders out into, you know, Delta and some of these other areas where we know we need housing. I mean, we know we have a huge need of housing, and yet we're not going to be able to get the volume there that's necessary by relying on, you know, say Ivory Homes or somebody to come down, or Edge or somebody like that to come down and build a, you know, 500 lot subdivision down there. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So we're going to have to rely on, I think, more modular solutions. So we've teed that up. There's a state fund now. One of the other issues that really has hammered builders right now, I don't know if there are any builders in the room, but access to capital right now is really limited. Access to capital through our banks and lenders. When the Silicon Valley Bank and First Republic Bank tightened up lending restrictions on our community banks. And so those banks are all now limited to $1-to-1 spend. They can't lend out more than $1 if they have $1 in their system. And traditionally, typically, they're doing 2 or 3 times that because, you figure there's, not everything's going to go bad at once, but the Fed tightens up. And so most of our community banks, well, all of our community banks, I think right now are operating at over 90% of their lending capacity, which has really caused them to tighten up on their credit. And so HB 572 created an opportunity for builders to access lower interest rate construction loans through their lenders. Their lenders can get a deposit from the state treasurer equal to the amount of their loan to a builder. It's deposited at the Fed funds rate -2, which right now is about 3.5%. So the banks get a deposit at 3.5% interest, or they're getting a below interest rate deposit. They're turning around and their limit is 3.5% margin, so they're lending it to builders at a max of 7%. Right now, it's a little bit below that, 6.9. And the builders, in order to access that, have to build 60% of what they create has to be deed restricted for ownership and attainable. And the target statewide is $350,000 for a single-family detached home, which in some areas is achievable, in some areas it'll be a little bit higher. But then for a condo, it would be $25,000, for a townhome, $25,000 less than that. And for a condo, $25,000 less than that again. So just trying to create an atmosphere where builders who will always build to the market and to what is the highest margin thing they can produce. If they can build thing A that's going to make them $50,000 and thing B that's going to make them $200,000, they'll always build thing B. And since we have a shortage across the entire spectrum of the market, we've been building thing B a lot. $700,000 homes instead of starter homes. And so this is a way to encourage them to build starter homes that are smaller and more affordable on smaller lots. And frankly, they need to come to the municipalities where they're building and get smaller lots in order to accommodate those smaller homes in order to hit those price points. But on the back end, the municipalities can be assured that those are going to be owner-occupied with a deed restriction for at least 5 years. And in Weaver County, they're doing 50-year deed restrictions, which I'm totally happy with. And they're also giving their local workforce first right on the starter homes that are being built, so that people can't come in from outside and the need is local, right?
Yeah.
So that's been one solution that has, a lot of builders are working on projects now to increase density with the communities they're developing in, but doing it so that the deliverable is owner-occupied, deed restricted, at an affordable price.
Okay.
So that's another tool that's available to builders. One other thing that was passed was called the, hang on, I got to think of the right acronym. It's the HOPS, Home Ownership Promotion Zone. And this was in SB 268 or 168, I can't remember which one of those two. And it allows a municipality to create up to 10 acres in a home ownership promotion zone where, so long as the same central metric, 60% owner occupied, deed restricted, and sold at 80% of the county median sales price, the municipality, without having to negotiate with the district or the county or anybody, gets 60% of the tax increment from that zone for 15 years to do infrastructure, anything kind of rationally related to that development. It doesn't have to be on-site infrastructure, it just has to benefit that development. And so that's something that I know we have several communities looking at right now, creating these 10-acre home ownership promotion zones so that they can encourage at going forward.
We just had just a few more minutes, so, yeah, any questions from anybody out there, cities, municipalities, anybody?
No.
Yeah, well, it was, now it's.
No, I think our biggest issue, it comes to the affordability. You know, in the past, we've always worked with, affordable housing or low income, but now we're at a point, there's a gap there. If you make X amount of dollars, you can still qualify for the low income or affordable housing. Or you've gotta make a unbelievable amount to even build a home right now. We have a middle sector now, they can't afford a house either way. They can't afford that rent because it's so high, but yet they don't qualify for the funding for an affordable or low-income house. Somewhere along the line, we've got to close that gap up or work something out to help with this.
Yeah, yeah.
What kind of wages are you seeing that hits that gap? What's the wage range or the annual salary that kind of falls in between those two pieces there?
Well, I can't remember what the low income is right now. I'd have to look into that, and see what the median income was for the debt ratio and what qualifications were set forth on it, so.
I think they have to make
Yeah, that's
under 35,000 annually for the low income housing, and our average county wage is 41.7. So you're looking at a couple $1,000 difference between the two.
Yeah, that's a really tough spot because, like you're right, that's where you're getting people who are, who can't make enough to quite qualify. If they're making $50,000, they can't quite qualify for the low income side, but $50,000 for rent in a really rent constrained, in a constrained market is really, really tough.
Yeah. Any other questions for Steve? Hey, in lieu of time, we really appreciate you jumping on and doing this for us. I think there's some talking points, and we just have to kind of keep conversations going forward, with regards to how we can kind of manage this a little bit. In our in our area, obviously, it's different from rural versus urban versus, different states as well. So we just really appreciate keeping us in mind and keeping us kind of updated on what's going forward in the future. So, thank you.
Well, as you guys have thoughts, please reach out. None of this stuff works in a vacuum. And so, trying to make sure that we're hitting the spots where it matters in your area. I know one of the points of focus this next session is going to be around public lands. And that's not just SITLA lands or BLM lands, although those are part of the equation. But it's also, city, county lands, school district lands, other agency lands. What are, can we do something better with those opportunities? Creating something that can work for somebody that's making $50,000 a year. Someone making $50,000 isn't going to be able to afford a $300,000 condo. And they just can't. There's, 6 times their wage. So it just doesn't work. So we really need to find ways to do things in the 200,000s, low 200,000s for people in that income range. And I think one of the opportunities there is through our public lands, maybe we create a statewide land trust that helps to deal with opportunities on city and county land so that we're not creating burdens for the cities and counties, but creating opportunities where builders can come in and we take a chunk of the land cost out of the equation and use that to create affordability that is able to drive down the price of those units down into the low 2s, high 100s. If you take if you just wipe the land cost portion out of that. To be done in Moab, I don't love how they're doing all of that as far as what their income, the growth on their investment, on their home ownership is kind of restricted. unrestricted level, but not give away the benefit of the land, kind of hold that public piece in public trust for perpetuity, so that no one ever profits off of the public, you know, the public value there. They just get the profit off of what they purchased, which is the improvements on top of it. So I think there's some creative things that we can do there that'll allow us, particularly in, you know, in kind of semi-rural, rural areas where we have massive, I mean, job opportunities. I mean, I just, you know, I know, Fillmore and Delta, I mean, I know there are job openings there, they're unfilled. And so we want to be able to help create that opportunity for you guys to put people to work in your communities.
All right, thanks, Steve. Appreciate you jumping on, and we'll keep in touch, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you much.
All right.
Bye. In lieu of time, I'm gonna just, Jared, do you want to just give a brief update real quick with what you got, everybody here? And then we'll go to the next, I know there's people here with that discussion, but let's just give Jared just a brief moment on fire.
Do we have a place I could put up a map or two?
We did have a board right here, where did that go?
The planning and zoning office still is.
No. The
recorder's
office.
Recorder's office still is.
Yeah, we used to have two of them here.
You grab it, it's in the recorder's office.
No, we endured that squeeze stage last week.
Just kind of a quick update on the little twist. That one shows just kind of some fire progression. So just kind of wanted to tell you where we're at today. We have about 240 plus firefighters working. We're at about 2,300 acres on Little Twist Fire where it sits. Right now, the gray down here is the Thompson Ridge Fire from last year, and so it's a pretty good holding feature right now. All this light orange peach is what we actually prescribed burn this spring, about 4,400 acres. And then this little piece here is where it did come out, and where we needed additional resources. That's why we ended up declaring it a wildfire. And all in all, it's all inside still our box. Typically, they don't declare unless it goes on the private or goes outside our box. But knowing where this was going, we had Laverne up here. We needed extra resources to kind of get a handle on it. But right now, we have handline on the upper end towards Circle Mountain, and they're working on handline going down around, coming along Birch Mountain. And then we're hoping this will be able to hook at some really thick, nasty timber that's dead out. I flew it this morning. It's pretty quiet all around here, even with all the major winds last night, like crazy winds. We had no growth on this side, and this is the side we're expecting. So we're actually kind of hoping that would just tie into Thompson Fire. It didn't move at all, really at all, and just a little bit of smoke. Most of our heat is actually on this north flank here, and that's where we have the crews trying to figure out how we can try to box it in right now. Just as an FYI, all the green is all of our treatment that we have already done across the whole mountain. So this is last fall's burn. This is all treatment around Kent, around high-low. So there's pretty good protection on the private here, and even on Laverne. We've done a lot of treatments, past timber cells, different things. So we've done a lot of prep work, linked with shared stewardship work, linked with all the Great American Outdoors Act, linked with all the roads improvements. So I think we're sitting in a really good spot. A lot of it's weather dependent. It's supposed to get hot and dry later this week. So right now we have a little window where we're hoping we can kind of catch it. I would say it's going to smoke all summer, just because of the heavies, the dead and down. Our ideal fuel loading is probably 20 to 50 tons per acre. We're sitting at 110 on average in this area. Crazy thick. You know, a lot of the spots is 3 to 5 feet, just dead and down, mishmash all across there. So that's one thing why we've been very deliberate on where we put crews and where we don't put crews, because I don't want to get anybody hurt. This is all doing nothing but good. I did the flight today, like the most beautiful mosaic you could actually see out there. It's burned around all the different rock and Mumford and all the little lakes around there. Burned to some of them, and then there's just skip patches of aspen and different things are just, so it's going to be really a huge benefit to wildlife and everything that's going on. Our biggest concern moving north is, of course, Birch Creek, where we have the Bonneville cutthroat. That's probably our biggest concern to date. Of course, we don't want anything to happen to high-low whistler pines up there, but I think it has a pretty good buffer there. Our worst-case scenario, if we can't get this to hold, we will have to come down and tie into this black, and we have crews trying to figure that out, and they're like, I don't know how we get down there.
Because we get out to this point and then it just turns. Those have been out there. I've hiked up from the bottom, like, I don't even wanna go there, it's pretty nasty. So, that's just kind of where we're at, you can kind of see the fire progression on that side. The green is basically, what was that, Thursday, and then it's just slowly bumped out. But, yeah, I think we gained 29 acres from yesterday with the infrared light that we did last night. And some of that is, you can see where it's still showing heat than where we lit it. I know there's been questions on the timing, if you go farther towards the base of the little, I call it pitch over there, but the base of the green, I look at shapes, this is a unicorn horse, and this is a fish. But this is where basically, this is all prescribed, there's still, we have some heat there, but we've had heat there for over a month. This is something that we lit, what was it, middle of May, I think May 15th, right there, where we lit all this. And we knew this was gonna be a problem because it didn't get a good clean black. And so the last time we actually lit was this piece down here, and that's almost out. We have just a couple little smokes down here, and that one burned up clean and hot, and it was, but that was because it had kind of pooped out and crossed out creeks, that's why we had to burn this little block up to the ridge top. So overall, I think we have a pretty good box. This is my only thing right now is, and they're trying to build hand line down here. We're trying to figure out what we can do on these little, main heat is at these three little spots here, where the big heat. But there's not much, it's pretty wispy. We have a lot less heat than, we have another prescribed burn going on last chance, which is over Loa. And that one actually, the last 2 days I've had pretty decent column, but it's all inside their box and going out where they want it, so, yeah. Any questions from people? Right now, as quiet as it is, we're not thinking about meeting a public meeting, but if we hear rumors we want to, we'll do. I'm just, giving up, so they'll basically, if we can ask. Yeah. So, definitely not as what we had planned or expected. This is planned to burn this fall, right before a snowstorm, and back it off the hill, but it kind of had a mind of its own. But it's still where we wanted it, but not the best time. But I was surprised on the fire effect. It should be pretty minimal. It looks impressive on
We don't have, my only question, because there's no grazing there at all, like you can't get cows in here.
Well, it's within the South Beaver allotment. So cows are in the Rocky Pond, bottom corner. Cows are currently, down here. This is where the cows are. This is just one of their pastures, but most of that didn't have a whole lot of grazing.
Yeah.
They could go through. There's a few little nice little meadows around the lakes, but that's about it. I tried to hike all those lakes in one day, and it took.
And there's no cows in there, out there?
No. There's some down the lower bottom of Twist, at the top of the BLM grounds. We have two kind of different groups of cows.
In a couple of years, there'll be a lot of cows in there.
Oh, yeah. This is gonna
Elk
be.
and cows, and deer.
Yeah, this is gonna be a hunting only.
There was a collared bear.
Tell people that.
A collared
There was a sow bear that was collared.
Oh, yeah.
And he was living in the bird when it blew up last Thursday, Friday. It failed, but it's already back in there. Not that I'm aware
I
of.
don't think so. They checked out this year out, and she had cubs. There's a little route. You can see the route in the first background. That's her. She's right there around Mumford Rock, just cruising around, and the fire happens. She goes down to Fremont Wash, a cat or sow.
I believe that's 1 month of tracking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool, her open eyes, but she's already back up. Just in the last 2 days, she went back up to Burkeville, right behind there.
How long do you expect the fire crews to stay?
We're gonna probably have crews all summer, but I presume it's gonna ramp down. If we can get this to kind of hook and box it in, we'll probably ramp down to 1 shot crew, 1 or 2 helicopters. But we're gonna have to watch it for the rest of the summer. It's gonna be smoking. But this is kind of like this. This is, I think, a doable smoke load here.
Well, I was quite surprised that, because I had a couple of people call me from Richfield, and I thought they were gonna call me from that estimate.
And we should have smoke monitors out by tomorrow. We requested those, but everything we're seeing that's surrounding where there's existing year-round smoke monitors, it's all, the highest it got to is moderate, and then now it's been to the normal baseline good.
It's gonna be a great burger.
So,
Just be careful.
yeah, the most of the smoke that we had the last 2 days that we saw was actually coming from California. That blew through here.
Yeah.
Because all of our smoke was, we were sending it to Sevier County, and Piute County, so.
Colorado would be great.
Yeah, but there was a couple fire starts yesterday for those, Duchesne had one and out there on I-70, and so, and then they had some out in, New Mexico, popped a pretty big one, so. This is fire season's what it does, so hopefully we can keep people off the interstate from driving chains, and that's been our biggest starts. Human cause it, anyways, so. Any other questions from anybody? I appreciate you being able to come in.
Thanks for coming in, Terry.
Thank you. Oh, one other thing, so we have, well, fire restrictions I think are going in for the lower counties, I think that starts Friday, and that was based on all the lower 5 counties. So that's,
Stage 1, so it's basically, you still have a fire as long as it's in a development.
yeah, and that's, we were just told that, it's not a technically agricultural ground, it's all.
It's not Mike Milton anymore, who is it?
Dan.
Is it Cannon?
Dan, you, I believe.
Is he the new guy?
I think he is.
You know, I'd have told you if you hadn't asked.
So the other thing that we do have a closure order in place. Right now, it's just closing from above Upper Kent, so you can go to all the Little Res, Tusher Campground, you can go to Kent Lake, all that. And so right where the gate is, we have it closed there to the gate at LeBaron. So the LeBaron Campground is closed, but the private, you can get to it, you just have to go around the other way. And part of that is because of where we're at, and then we actually have the hot shot crews currently are in Anderson Campground. That's where we have them, so they're closest to the mountains, possibly get up and down every day, and minutes driving. That's where we have most accidents, firefighters is driving, so. We're hoping to, right now we have that closure till the 15th of July, I'm hoping to be able to shorten that way down. And just at least bring it, we'll probably bring it to the road, so people can drive the road, we just don't want them going towards where the fire will be for the duration of the summer. You guys know, once we get good monsoons. But we can get it kind of in the box and then kind of let it do its thing inside and chunk away. And it's clean up a lot of heavy fuels. It's kind of cool to watch the flight and see the trees are all fine, but underneath it's all just all the heavies are burned.
That's good.
So.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, sorry guys, we'll try to get back on some track. Swimming, there's gonna be some discussion on the swimming pool allotment. I don't know, Minersville City had a request. Or do you wanna talk about that, or Jen, or both of you, or, and then we can kind of have discussion. I do wanna try to, I mean, yeah, I don't know how long it takes, whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
You wanna come?
We would like to review the swimming pool allotment and see if we can revise that from home.
The allocation.
The allocation, yes.
In the email that was sent for the meeting, it acknowledged, the tub is 45, Beaver, 45, Melford, 10, Minersville. Is a percentage of that allotment.
Is there a newer version of it?
There is a newer one.
96 is, I think, the newest version.
Was 44, 44, and 12.
Correct, right here.
And what we were actually asking for, later this year, we are going, or probably when we get closed out, we're gonna have to resurface our pool. And anyone that's done that knows that's not a cheap endeavor. It's gonna cost us probably close to $100,000, $80,000, $90,000 to get that pool resurfaced. With the budget we have, we simply can't afford it. So what we're doing is, what we're requesting is to increase our allotment to at least 20%. That would still leave each of Melford and Beaver at 40%. I figured it out on, when I got the email for this meeting, I figured the 10%. And, just off the top of my head, we got, about, I think not quite $38,000 last year, as our allotment on that. If that was the case, we got in a 10%, that would have that would have made the whole allotment $380,000. So that take away, say 40%, that still leaves $320,000. Which, that would be $160,000 each, Beaver and Miller.
We get 125,000.
Yeah, it's 125, 125, then 34, so there's 284 total.
Yeah.
284, 773, 78.
But
Anyways.
anyway, we're just asking for an increase to help us to be able to keep our pool open and be able to do what we can.
Let's put the other pools in.
The problem we're running into in Minersville, I'm sure Beaver's running into it, you know, these pools were built back in 1986. And so we've just about lived out the longevity of these pools without having to do some major repairs. Now, Milford, we had to resurface ours last year, and the surface alone was $68,000. Now, that don't include the pumps, you know, the standard, everything like that that's gonna have to start being replaced, your electrical, all that. So there's gonna be quite a bit of maintenance that's gonna have to come about over the next couple of years on all these schools, all three of them. So it's something that we're gonna have to take a look at and have some conversation about, so.
And as small as our budget is, I mean, $68,000 would really, that would put us in the negative really fast.
Does any of those grants
No, none of those grants are for water activities of any kind.
Beaver City, have any thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I can make a strong argument that Beaver City deserves a larger piece of the pie than we're currently getting. Months open, citizenship, usership, sort of any way you slice it. I could make a strong argument for a bigger piece of the pie. With that said, I understand budgets and I understand where they're in. I disagree with a permanent reallocation, but I could probably agree to a one-time reallocation if you're looking at a resurfacing project. If you're asking my opinion.
Well, yeah, I think that's why we're here.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I think so.
So, to me, it doesn't seem right to do a permanent reallocation. But if there's an urgent need, an acute need, I would certainly look at that.
Can you speak to what you foresee that city pool coming in the next few years with the new pool getting put in?
Yeah, it's 100% owned and operated by Beaver Valley Hospital. There will be a pool in that facility. We're looking to break ground on that facility hopefully within the next 90 days.
Sure.
Hopeful.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks like the budget of that facility will probably be north of 23 million. Probably 2/3 of that expense is the swimming pool. But that will be owned and operated by the Beaver Valley Hospital. Beaver City has not made our determination yet as to whether we're going to continue operation of our current pool or not. As Nolan suggested, our current pool is in terrible disrepair. I really feel sorry for Miranda, who has the charge to operate that facility. I have a ton of respect and gratitude for her and her team. We haven't made a determination as to whether we're going to keep that facility open or whether we would close that facility. All of that is pending our business plan. I say as the mayor of Beaver City, I'm also the chairman of the Beaver Valley Hospital Board, so Switching hats, we're in the process of evaluating exactly how that facility will be operated, from the hospital perspective. But Beaver City, we haven't made our decision as to, we're waiting to see what programming will be and,
Well, that pool that's gonna be out there, is it gonna be open to the public?
yeah, no, for sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It'll be open to the public, they'll pay a fee, you'll, similar to any other pool, you could buy a pass, you could buy a monthly pass, you could pay a daily fee, all of that, so, without having any of the particulars, but that pool will be owned, the actual facility will be owned by the Beaver Municipal Building Authority, the same entity that owns our current pool, so, again, there's a strong argument that we should get a bigger piece of the pie, not a smaller piece.
And I gotta kind of agree with, Mayor Robinson, if you kind of break it down the way we're operating, the way they're operating, all year round. But I don't know whether changing this development the way it is, because we have to have this M&O to operate our pool, the limited time that we even operate our pool. Without that, it's gonna be almost impossible to operate our pool. But I think it's a discussion we need to have, and we need to have it now. I think we need to look at it, we need to address, what is the future with Mayor Robinson and his facilities? Are they going to operate 2 pools, or are they just gonna try to, use the brand new one that they're building and not sink a lot of money into the existing pool they have here? What's the future, what's it gonna cost to keep Minersville up to date? Like you said, we're in pretty good shape right now pool-wise because we just resurfaced ours. Ours is just gonna be our pumps and all that, it's gonna have to start being changed out. So I think this is the conversation that we need to have. What are we gonna do in the future? How are we gonna maintain these pools? And exactly, where's the money gonna come from?
So the service district number 4, that's not even, is it still functioning?
It's dormant.
It is dormant.
They used it when they were building on the
Creating this?
pools. They used it when they were building on the pools. It was,
But the tax is still being collected?
no,
No,
it's an inactive
Not.
service district.
it's not.
How is the funding allocated from the county? Where does that money come
From
from?
the general fund.
It's just a general fund line item in the budget?
Correct. That's calculated on a 2 mil levy that we budget for. We basically, at the end, when we get all of our values, we take whatever that value is times by 0002, and that's what we determine how much we budget, and then we allocate it based on what you guys agreed on.
So I want to be clear, I hear what Ward and Jennifer are saying, I understand, you can't just make money appear out of thin air. I do think that there are other sources of revenue. All of us bear a burden to find those sources, but similar to what we do with our airports, I would definitely be willing to do some kind of a one-time reallocation for a period of time. It seems difficult to me to do a permanent reallocation. We're gonna have a $23 million facility to operate, which will be open year-round. So it seems difficult to do a permanent reallocation, but I would.
I can understand that.
One thing I'd like to say on your permanent reallocation is that the one-time thing is great, and I think in the future we need to determine the allocations on day use, because we have a lot of people come from Beaver down to the pool in the summertime because they don't like to use the indoor pool up here. And when Milford was resurfacing, we were taking a lot of those kids on. So it is countywide. They do share the facility and stuff. So I think that, if we ran this, if we wanted to do, every year, just come with the numbers and see what it's costing to run those facilities and how many kids you're serving, and then base it on that. Because I think it's deceiving. You don't feel like there's a lot of, sometimes you go to the pool and it's dead, and then the next day you're lambasted with kids. So.
Especially on a Friday night, midnight swim.
Yeah.
We had about half of the
County.
You know what?
Yeah.
Just thinking that
Beaver
if
is
they didn't
mine.
have Minersville to go to,
Yeah.
they'd be up here causing trouble, so
Yeah.
help
You know what,
out.
guys,
Yes.
I hope Minersville is forever able to have those midnight swims. I truly believe that, so.
So question, like where you're at, do we need to reinstate the service district, and what's the best way to go about that? Because we can't even really make a decision if there's no active service district.
Well, and I would question, like, how much do you guys need? Like,
Yeah, we got those numbers, I guess.
I mean,
$285,000.
Well, we need 285,000.
Thank you.
There you go.
We'll take it.
So originally, the idea was that we had a lot more assessed valuation in the county than in the cities and towns. And so we combined that because everybody needed a pool, and we built pools for each community that way, and we basically got a lot of those centrally assessed properties to pay their fair share of all of that. And so that's why it was a county thing. And if there is really not enough money to go around, we could consider raising the levy that we're allocating to that. You just have to go through, I mean, it's not fun, but you have to go through the taxation stuff. But you could change that from 2 to something if it's a question of we just don't have enough money for those pools, because I feel like it's a service that is worthwhile. I mean, we didn't have the pools, what are kids going to be doing? What would they have done all these summers? So it's probably an investment that's worth making.
Speaking on that, on Leo's point, Beaver City would certainly stand behind the commissioners if you opted to open up that conversation. We would certainly be right here to support you in that, if that were the determined course of action. I'm just saying, we're not gonna just hide and let you guys take all.
I know I do think there is some money that's out there for some, like, one-time type stuff, but probably not ongoing. I think there's gotta be some grants or something.
But this is gonna be a consistent problem.
Yes, it is gonna be.
It's gonna be a
Yeah.
consistent problem.
Yep.
I mean, in the pool down there, like I'm saying, we don't have a big budget in Connersville. And when they come and say, oh, you've gotta have a new chair for disabled people, well, the cost is $6,000 for it. And then they had one death throughout the United States because somebody got caught on a drain in a pool. So it was mandatory that every pool had to have a replace their drains and stuff. That was a $10,000 to $12,000 bill.
Yeah.
And we actually last year, we spent well over $12,000 just doing nothing but cleaning everything up and replacing stuff that could have posed a danger and redoing the pool on the inside. And so, I mean, now this year at the end of this year, we're gonna have to resurface it. We've been told that that's what's gonna have to be done, and so.
So the way the tax is set up, it's not specific to the pool, right? It's a general purpose? Or,
When it first started, we called it a recreation tax that was countywide, and it was set.
So is it gone away, or it's still there?
Mixed in,
it's just been mixed in with the general.
Yeah.
So we could change the rate.
You could change the rate.
Which would increase the amount
But
you
it's
get.
all, the entire county gets it on like your residential taxes
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Part of everyone's
Property tax.
It's just not in the incorporated area. If they were actually assessed, it would just be the incorporated
Well,
area.
that's what I'm saying, so we're not assessing it to the cities, to the.
Yeah,
Because ours overlays there, all of us.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we are not opposed to a one-time thing. and continue to address this each year if we have to. I mean,
But if it's an ongoing issue and a lack of
there's
funding,
one
I
time
wouldn't
that-
wanna do that every single year.
I mean, are you?
I don't want to, but
Yeah,
I would
there's
just
the
say
one.
that you definitely consider at least getting that thing resurfaced, because if you think about the recreation that our kids have and our youth have and what else they would be doing if they weren't joining each other at the pool or something like that, we're probably saving our staff a lot of headache and the residents a lot of headache by giving these kids some kind of an activity to do.
Yeah.
And so,
And
if
I
it's a
told-
one-time thing, I'm not a mayor, so I don't got a lot to stake, but I do have a stake in it on what happens if they're not at the pool.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, but everything that Ward expressed, we have to do to our pool as well.
yeah, I mean, that's what I say.
So-
This is a continual thing that.
These
goes
challenges,
On and on.
and I think it's incorrect to think that Beaver City, and I didn't necessarily hear this, maybe it was inferred, but we don't have a big budget either. And our budget's tiny. So, everything's relative. I mean, I'm not trying to rewrite history, there's obviously some wisdom in how it was originally orchestrated and the thought process, and I agree, I totally agree with the sheriff, and I agree with you guys. I hope my kids can go to the Friday night swings in Mineville, they love, the kids love them. And to me, it would be worth paying a few extra bucks a year to make sure that we have those services in our community. It is interesting to me to hear that it's a recreational tax, you know, because we're looking at multiple recreational facilities in our community right now, including additional soccer and baseball fields, because our cemetery is almost full. We've opened a conversation about a rodeo, redoing a rodeo arena. So the need is there. There's no doubt. The need is there. So once again, if the commission decides to open that up and take a look at that, a countywide levy or an increase in rate, we would be interested in participating.
Is there any way you can do a quick calculation on any kind of an increase, like what?
Triple
kind
zero
of
three?
money that would-
Yeah, that's what we're.
0003.
And I think we're open to that, but we would like that request to come from you guys with a letter of support from each of the cities to say, this is what we request.
This is why.
Yeah.
And we
That's
could
the way
do
I would
that.
envision.
Yeah, we have no problem with that.
This is what it is, and this is why.
Yeah.
You're still gonna catch a hell of a lot of flack.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
I'm the first time.
Well, we're gonna
It's
get-
gonna be us.
Yeah,
It's gonna be us raising
And
taxes.
it won't be the first time.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But if we have that letter of support during that hearing, we can say, hey, this is what was requested from the cities, because we need somewhere for the youth to be, so they're not out clubbing rabbits. Never mind, I won't go back to the history.
Yeah, no, on your own calendar, no. We don't need to go through all
Back
that.
then, it was, you know, the feelings that came about to set that levy it was really difficult and hard. And I hate to say this, but, you know, we don't have the school board here, but what if we could get them to take a moratorium on tax hikes for a couple of years?
Yeah, we're talking. He's not here to defend himself, so.
Well, let's face it, it's a tax hike every year.
Every year.
Whatever you guys decide.
That's
Every
right.
year.
Oh, is that what it said?
And that's in the name of the kids too.
Well, it sounds like we need to have some discussion with regards to this district, with the taxes, because I don't think, I mean, you know, maybe there's a one-time issue there, but this is gonna be an ongoing issue that needs to be solved as well, so I think we need to have that discussion. And everybody wants the money, I mean, everybody wants the money, everybody justifies what they need it for, so, right, you don't wanna take away from something else to give it to somebody else either, which I totally understand as well, so.
So in the meantime, what's the quick fix for the summer?
Well, we're good for the summer.
We're gonna get through the summer and then.
You're just
we'll
saying
go up
in
around
fall,
winter
in
and
the
then
fall.
In the
resurface
fall,
it.
after our pool closes down, we need to arrange to have the resurface.
Because obviously, we're not gonna get, you know, an increase in money until.
Like, how much are you talking?
70,000, wasn't it?
It's,
Well,
Milford's bill was
About
81,000 for.
68,000 to resurface
68,000.
ours last year.
And you're a hair bigger, aren't you?
Yeah, they're a hair bigger.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
So you guys haven't
Well,
had an
because of
estimate yet?
inflation, it's gonna be at least $70,000.
And you've got an estimate on yours, a bid yet? But it's probably
Michaela
gonna
just
be
sent us
similar.
her, bill that she got from
Every sure it'll be similar.
yeah.
Beaver City would commit to entering a conversation for a one-time reallocation for the assistance of Minersville. Absolutely.
Okay. Same way as Milford.
So we could do that because it would take us another cycle to raise the rates, when could we raise them?
Well, if you were meeting it for next year, you do it this year.
Have you got your money this year already?
These guys are under fiscal.
Right,
They can
it's like
start
their
in
budget
I
from
know.
July
It's
first.
July.
I could ask.
It's July.
Is that your
When,
budget? Is
Ginger,
July first?
when do we pay this out?
Our budget.
When
We
is-
pay it out in December. Oh.
So it's paid out in December?
Yeah, we pay the library in January, we pay the schools in December. After the rates, after the taxes have been collected in November.
So if we allocate a one-time percentage for this year, it won't go until December.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And then you can go back to the other way until we figure this out.
Yeah, they just need to come up with whatever that allocation, whatever they would agree to on the allocation.
Well, I agreed to 40/40, and it's a 20%.
Well,
Right. Is that what you guys are saying?
no, I think that the one time, Minersville would need, you guys would need around
I'll bet you
61,
it's 80.
80.
I'll bet you it's close to 80.
You don't have a-
It's gonna be,
You'd have to bid it out.
well,
You don't have a bid.
So that would take Nolan and I, that's the wrong way to say it. That would take Milford and Beaver down to around 100 and Minersville up to around 80,
Yes.
give or take
Yeah.
a couple thousand.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be an increase to Minersville around 50,000.
Yeah.
Would that take care of it? Would that be close? I don't know if that'd be everything, but it'd be.
It'd be a lot more helpful.
it would be,
It'd be a
it
lot
would,
more helpful
it
than
would
not,
be
for sure. I mean, look,
But this is what
something
we
that
can
we
get.
could
But
probably
then would you go back to
handle.
the 44 and 12? Is
Yes.
that what you're thinking?
Yes.
So you're gonna do a one-time reallocation for just
This is
For
24.
this year,
Yes.
but then
Then,
re-
yeah.
visit the tax
Revisit.
increase,
Yeah.
the levy increase,
We can actually get a bid.
ongoing, I would
We can
say.
actually get the bid for it and bring it to you, just
Yeah.
let you know what.
I think
Well,
that,
I would like to see that. I mean, just
That's
for the
what-
sake of holding
what
everybody
you
accountable.
need
Yeah.
is the bid, you gotta have that bid.
Yeah, otherwise it's just like.
But I think it's
So we.
commendable for Milford and Beaver to
Yeah,
offer that.
yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think that we should visit.
We do meet again in September, July or September, so September again will be the same meeting again. If you get that bid by then, we can kind of see where we're at.
Okay.
And then we should be able to crunch numbers on what a levy increase would bring in annually,
Ongoing in the next,
ongoing.
for the next years. Okay.
Or a different tax.
Or different tax.
We can look
I
at
mean,
it.
there's some other options to look
Explore.
at,
Yeah.
such as a rat tax, whatever that is.
Recreation, arts, and parks.
What?
Recreation, arts, and parks is the RAP tax, and then the park tax is, it includes arts into it, but it also does recreation and parks. So
Okay.
there are a couple of different of those taxes that are available, and they can either be adopted on a county level, or they can be adopted on the individual city level, so depending on how you want to strategize that way. But I think it would require a good conversation about who's doing what, so that we know exactly how to approach it. But those kinds of taxes have funded things like the All Abilities Park in Spanish Fork. A lot of the pool infrastructure, Payson Pool is a really good example of a parks tax that actually works. Linden City has some that they use for their fairgrounds, actually, as part of the park tax. So there's a lot of application across those taxes, but it is going to be a tax that is assessed to the tax base, and so you guys are gonna wanna be thoughtful in your strategy.
Yeah, so I think we see the information on all those two, and then the one we currently have here, probably for our September meeting at least.
I can bring those for your I'll actually have them before your September meeting, so you can
Right.
try to take a
Look
stab
at
at
it.
making a
All right.
direction.
Okay. All right. We good?
We're good.
Good for that? Yes, okay, all right. Let's, I mean, we're obviously gonna be running out of time quite a long ways, but we don't have everybody here, so we'll go next on the list, which is kind of entity updates. We'll start with, Minersville County.
What is it?
Any updates? Any updates you got, Minersville?
Oh, your microphone was there.
No, not really.
Okay? Milford City?
We're good.
You good? Okay,
right now.
Fourth of July celebration coming up?
Fourth of July celebration coming up. We've got that all planned.
Okay.
Everything's in, we just need donations.
Okay, Milford City, next.
Well, we had a great celebration over Memorial Day with the mine. We had a little over 800 people attend. The owners were quite excited. They're pretty excited about what they're doing. They've got 75 employees. They want to be up to 150 by the end of the year. So therein lies the problem with housing. Because they kind of went through a list that day of different employees, and there's quite a few that do live out of the community right now that are commuting back and forth, working at the mine right now. Fertle's still active, Forge is still active. We got an update coming tonight with Forge. Turbo, I did meet with some contractors out of Boise, Idaho the other day. They actually flew in and to look at the area and the possibility they might be the ones that's going to start on the power plant right shortly. So everything's right on track with what Forge has promised. So they said when they do start, if they take the job, they'll be hiring a lot of locals. So they'll be in touch with everybody locally and kind of provide a list of the jobs and everything and what they need. So, and it should get real busy once they start there. So, housing, like I said, housing is a real issue. We've been meeting with a couple of developers. We've met with one. He's actually maybe got an agreement with some property owners to start building maybe 10 to 12 homes and a trailer park. So, he's going to work on that. Matt Liu is the developer out of St. George that we've been working with.
Does Milford City have zoning for certain types of homes, say modular homes versus, single-family home? Is that?
We do have that zoning, but we're actually completely redoing that and working on that now. We're completely doing our master general plan.
Okay.
So that's going to be part of it, part of our subdivision ordinances. So in fact, we have a meeting this afternoon to start that process.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think that's it. Like I said, we're going to work on housing, see what happens with, Forge. So, and then the mine, like I said, they're pretty excited about what's going on. They actually told me, the owners the other day, that they actually pretty much have the money they need to do what they want to do. And they're actually going to go deeper, and that's always been the problem in the past. Nobody's had the money to go deeper for the copper. And they've actually, their long-term plans have actually changed. And they've expanded to the point because the demand for copper has just increased so much with batteries and the military. So they said if it goes the way they want, they plan on being here for 20, 25 years at least. So I look forward to a good, positive relationship with them. So
I hope they do those government
Yes.
contracts, because that's gonna be huge.
I've been walking it for a while on it. Good. Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Appreciate it, thank you. Beaver City?
Just a few of the things that we're working on are we continue to develop our industrial park, our South Peaks Industrial Park. We continue to express gratitude to the county for working with us on the development of that project, and I think that's turning into a very positive development in our county with lots of potential current growth and potential growth. We're on the tail end of finishing up our Grove Water project, which has also been a good project, finally something we tackled after all of those years. So it's good to be where we're at with that. We're on the front end of our summer roads projects. We're getting ready to launch into a couple of projects at our Beaver City Center, an ADA compliance project, which will upgrade exterior and interior facilities. I don't know if any of you have been there and noticed how nice our front sidewalks and steps are, but we're about ready to launch into getting all of that fixed. We're also going to do a sort of a recreational development project immediately north of the city center, where the you can picture where the meal trailers, where the food trailers and stuff are for the firefighters right now. A really nice development right there, which will add a lot to our main street. Our hospital continues, it's slow, but we're making progress. We're probably still, hopefully the current phase of that we're in will be finished by the end of this calendar year. We're probably still 2 years out for completion of the overall project. Hopefully we're gonna be breaking ground on the wellness center out there within 90 days. And we're actively seeking opportunities. Our cemetery is gonna be full within at current rates, probably within 5 years. And the next phase.
People are dying that fast? Sorry.
The next.
I know, hey, look. They're dying to get in there, dang it.
The next phase will be the 2 east ballparks of the DeArmond Fields baseball complex. And then, obviously, future expansion of the cemetery will just continue across to the west and down into Pioneer Park eventually is where it will end up, which is awesome. That's the right spot for it. But to replace those recreational facilities, we're actively looking for opportunities, and those would be, the new facility would be soccer, football, and baseball fields. So we're trying to solve that problem right now. And most recently, with the help of Jim, we've gotten some money for our rodeo arena in the canyon, but it's a big question, is that really where we want to dump a bunch of money? So we're starting to develop a strategic plan with what we might do with our rodeo facility, which is similar to our swimming pool. It's in terrible disrepair. So that's a list of a few of our projects.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot of work going forward. That's good.
Yeah,
Good.
progress.
Sheriff.
Give your electrical boys a big hand for that mess they had last night.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I went out and looked for a
Trees
while.
everywhere, knocked
Oh
over.
my goodness. I don't know how many damages they had, it seemed like there were several.
There was half dozen maybe.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
They were humping to get things taken care of, so.
Sounds like he's waiting for Cardinal.
And do you want the wind? Is that you?
Yeah, I ordered it. Do you know that without electricity, it's like everyone just almost freezes up?
Oh, yeah, it's stupid.
We can't even survive. I'm really worried when we get into a bad, this is only like 4 hours, I think, maybe. Was it 4 hours?
We didn't have it there, so.
I didn't have it at my
You're always
house.
so lucky.
I didn't have it at my house or at the facility, but.
I'm serious, so, yeah, thank the guys for sure, because it's like we definitely need this in society. We don't function very well without it. Anyways.
Our cell phones start to go dead and everybody
Panic.
really
Panic, yeah, we're all in trouble.
Have to go for a ride and charge them phone.
Thank you, though. Yeah, I agree with that, Sheriff. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, Sheriff, you're next.
So with us,
Elizabeth's not here.
I emailed you guys recently, one of our biggest concerns, the Sheriff's Association, Utah Sheriff's Association and Western State Sheriff's Association are reaching out to OSHA on the Federal Registry. They're trying to put in a new rule that makes all of our search and rescue units, basically, none of us rural agencies will be, or offices will be able to have a search and rescue unit because of the qualifications that it would put on each individual member.
On public land?
No, just a certification, period. They wouldn't be able to operate, I mean, basically, we'd have to have these guys get certifications like wildfire or medical. It's ridiculous what they're trying to put on us. So I've sent that out to you. Unfortunately, the timing, we don't have a lot. I think they said that the last day to reply on the registry or in the comment section is today. And that's short timing. I'm sorry, but it takes you 10 minutes to get on there and just tell how bad it would literally take my search and rescue away. I wouldn't be able to have one. If we complied with the feds.
Well, what's stupid is that, just like everything else that this administration's done with public land stuff, Who the hell's gonna take care of the federal land?
No. Well,
If
I
we
don't.
don't have paid EMTs or,
The thing about it is, it's the rules, we follow OSHA in the state of Utah, we're one of the states that.
have you talked to Celeste?
Huh?
Have you talked to Celeste?
We wrote a letter a month or so ago before your last, meeting. before
So,
the
our
sheriff.
last meeting was last week, that's when I got hit with it. And we had talked about it, but we never really got to the point where it was, the timing was a crunch. So I'm just telling you, timing's a crunch.
Well, you're a little late.
Well, you know what, you can type on your lunch break. So get on the registry and type out a comment.
Actually, Sheriff, I was just looking at Sheriff Smith's email, and it says July 19th.
Okay, so we might be in luck. I heard wrong, but that's happened before.
I hope so.
Anyway, long story short, this is just another federal government overreach. They have no business doing what they're doing. Our search and rescues are amazing. They have done great jobs. We've been able to reach out if we needed support from the
Have
other
you run
counties.
this up, have they run it up the ladder with UAC?
I've just
Because
started
they
with
had
the Sheriff's Association
So
part.
next week is that, summit. Are you guys gonna try and go to it? The
Justice Summit.
The Justice Summit, it's where they talk about the jails and all of the.
Sometime, it's, my schedule literally is day to day, so that's it.
It's Thursday, next Thursday, so you should try and.
I can try, but I'm not, like I said,
No, I
it just
know, but I'm
depends.
just saying.
Unfortunately, this time of year, I got a guy in the academy, I've got, speaking on your housing thing, I've had a great, jail correctional deputy that come from Juab County. He was living in, I think he was living in Delta, driving back and forth for us, and just a great all-around guy. Can't find a house, he's going back towards for Juab County. And so, this housing thing is affecting a lot of us.
Oh, again?
Yeah, that's what I'm like, maybe we ought to think about something because it's turning into a mess. I know that right now our jail numbers are down because the Board of Pardons is letting out everybody that basically hasn't committed a first-degree felony. That's not 100% accurate, but that's what it feels like. There's other jails that are being built. Our state count, we like to keep it up around the 340, 345, hopefully the 350 plus area. And we've been really good, and then all of a sudden we had a couple of weeks of where they were trolling out 15, 13. My count got down to as far as state count, got down to as low as 325. And so I've been on the phone with the directors and everybody. We're talking about trying to implement a new program in our facility that we would have the only one in the state, so it helps out there. As far as the towns and cities go, my guys are as sick of and tired of the motorbikes, four-wheelers and everything else, but we are still trying to keep it as we're not hammering these kids if they're wearing helmets and they're going slow and they're trying to leave town, then we're kind of encouraging them to do what they're doing and do it properly. The ones we're after are the ones that are driving like crazy up and down the roads, and that is all day, every day. So I could assign a deputy to ATV duties all day, and we still wouldn't stop the problem because of the electrics that have come out and everything else. So if you have complaints on that, go ahead and send them, and I'll file them in the file that it needs to be filed in because we're trying our hardest to keep up on it. The walking path, the mayor and I had talked about this several times. I think Councilman Skeena, who's also obviously Deputy Skeena, talked about the electrics on the walking path and kind of put some kind of a no motorized vehicle. Well,
It already says that, doesn't it?
yeah, it says no motorized, but then you got the pedal bikes that you can either pedal or push the button to be electric. And so when we drive by, they pedal, and then when we don't, they don't. So, I mean, it's an impossible thing. And I'm not trying to make light of this, but we got a lot more serious things going on right now that we're investigating. So we have been busy. This weekend was crazy, and then with the fire and stuff, we're trying to help out on them closures and stuff. Other than that, we're holding our heads above water, trying to do the best we can. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I say one thing about that OSHA rule?
Yep.
That, I know the sheriff's coming at it from the sheriff, which is an issue, but it also will affect all the municipalities because it also affects all your, not just search and rescue and sheriff, but all your volunteer fire departments. So as far as we can tell, it's being pushed by some of the, big unions and the big cities, but it will make it almost impossible for your volunteer fire to be volunteer, because in theory, it's good because it talks about equipment, it talks about training, and that's all great, but you're not gonna force I don't know, but many of the volunteers, at least that I'm familiar with, are older guys, because that's all you can get to volunteer anymore, and they're not gonna go take a 40-hour training, they just don't, they'll come out when you call, but they're not gonna do that. And just the equipment that you're gonna have to get, it's devastating. So, please, all of you comment on that. Don't think, oh, we don't, the sheriff will take care of it, because the sheriff, that doesn't affect the municipalities. It will affect all of you.
I've also asked all of the members, all of our members, as many as we can get, to comment on this. As you said, it'll be devastating, so you need to get it stopped.
Okay. Anything else?
You guys got something for me?
We've got, I think that's the kind of thing that needs to run up the ladder to UAC and to 5 counties. 5 counties ought to have a bunch of staff members out throwing letters together, because that's huge, because I do think, you guys have been around here longer know that Iron County, they were having trouble with theirs, and that's when Red Cross come in and took over all the ambulance service, because they didn't have enough, there was an issue with volunteers, but the public lands counties are gonna just get trained.
Well, and it's even bigger, it'll affect even Cedar City Fire Department, and they have a mostly paid fire department, but it will still affect them because they still operate some volunteer.
It's all big professional staff and not volunteer.
But any of your, like you said, public land, search and rescue, it's huge.
I can get a hold of 5 county for sure, have them comments.
Please do.
Okay, will do. Okay. On the rest of these, the service districts are not here, so I'm gonna bypass those. What? Oh, Don! Service District 7, you got any comment? Any concerns?
4 or 5.
No. 4 or 5?
Working good.
Well, on service district number 5, we're still picking up trash. But we actually did, do a $1 increase on, per can.
Okay.
And basically, the reason we've done that is we have an agreement, we have a franchise agreement with Wiley Hughes that he can come back if he, and renegotiate. Well, the surcharge on the fuel, the service district, we've actually been picking that up. We haven't passed that on to the customer. What we've been doing is the money that we receive off our metal pile every year, we were just offsetting that. But it's come to a point that to meet Wiley's needs and our need, we had to go ahead and increase the $1 per can. We did put it out there, we did hold a public hearing and everything, and of course, nobody showed up. But anyway, so that's been implemented, so everybody will see that, the cities will see that. So we've taken care of that and tried to offset the cost.
Okay.
But I think that's it for the service district, so.
Okay. Nobody else in service districts, right? He was busy. Okay.
You didn't want to make a comment on 3?
No comment.
Mount Healthcare?
We don't want to sit here for another hour. Please start commenting.
Nothing? Okay.
I'll just pass on for Service District 3, is they do have a new COO in Milford. His name's Guy Dancy that they hired. Guy Dancy?
Guy Dancy is his name.
We're gonna have a barbecue and meet him tomorrow.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
COO.
COO.
Chief Operating Officer. He's gonna,
So he
he's
took
taking
Michelle.
over for Michelle Barr.
Okay, commission,
This is you, Mr. Chairman.
you guys want anything? Well, I mean, I will say that, you guys probably know that we do have the old Beaver Hospital and the old Melford Hospital that was just purchased not too long ago. We're doing some studies on the Beaver one, to see what would be best to go forward with that. There's some asbestos issues, there's some structural challenges, but we do think if we get the asbestos removed, that our last report, that the bones of the building is actually still very good. And so I think we can maybe do some restructuring or redesigning and do some things that can be, that building can be used as some offices, basically, or whatever we kind of decide to do. So that is in the process currently with that building. Melford, any update on that, really?
We hope it doesn't fall down.
Well, it's not falling down.
No, the front part of it is really good, it's really useful for the sheriff's department. It was the right thing to do to purchase that building. The rest of the building, we have a preschool that uses some of it, the food bank is in there, but other than that, there's not a lot.
It needs an assessment too, to decide what best to do.
To best go forward with that.
Do you want to just briefly mention what you talked about before about Puffer Lake?
Sure. So, I don't know if anybody's heard the rumors, but, Beaver County's buying Puffer Lake property. We've got grant funding, coming from the state, so we got some good plans going forward, similar to what we've done at the campground. Our biggest fear was, that it goes to somebody that locks it off and blocks, access and blocks the roads. And
So I get to go up and operate it?
yeah.
Yes.
That could be your retirement.
Yes,
plan.
it could. Are you offering now?
Are you volunteering?
You worried that was gonna run it, you got something to do already.
Yeah,
Long enough?
it's been sold over the last 40 years, 2 or 3 times, just keeps coming back, because people, don't know what to do with it, they want to subdivide it and, make a new park city up there. We don't want to do that. So I put a proposal together, there's a lot of state funding right now on outdoor rec. We received $4 million appropriation for, the outdoor rec, whatever the name of it is. It's right there.
You got it.
Outdoor Recreation Initiative grant, and then another $850,000 from the OHV land acquisition grant. And then Beaver County's got money to invest, and we're gonna go in and plan, put a committee together and decide for sure what to do with that. But I'm pretty excited, it's kind of the diamond in the rough up there. It's already on the plan with the Forest Service to do shared stewardship with forestry and fire, and we snuck it in and we're getting it out from under the Forest Service, wanted it. And then State Parks wanted it too when they found out that we were looking at it, and we're like, no, we wanna be in the driver's seat, so.
I want a personal, that's
Oh,
awesome.
you haven't heard?
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
That is totally awesome, because if not, you were gonna destroy what the rest of the mountain is.
Absolutely.
And so, that is terrific.
Yeah.
Make sure that next week, I think it's on the 24th or whatever, please look into it. I sent you guys out an email about the sheriff's stewardship or the parking meeting that's gonna happen with the Forest Service stuff at,
Merchant Valley.
geez. Yeah, and with that cabin homeowner association up there and what they're proposing to do for one of the Forest Service's proposals to put basically a 4-acre parking lot right in the middle of Merchant Valley. And I think we can all agree that's probably not a great idea. We do need to assess parking and stuff, but we don't need to do that right there in the middle.
I know they don't have a lot of options on flat ground, but I have not seen their plan.
I haven't seen it, the map's there, but they talked about taking some off of the Jimmy Reed's end of it and expanding that parking lot right there. But you take Merchant Valley Meadow and you look up that meadow, and that's one of the scenic ones that the people drive through and see it, that's just right there. Not that they can't all across like Big Flat and Big John's and stuff, but then drive past it again and you look out there and you see the Walmart parking lot. That's not what needs to happen. happen. There's gotta be some other options. But Jared Whitmer, the ranger, he and I had a pretty good conversation about it, and he said the same thing that I say a lot of times. Well, don't come to me and just tell me my idea is stupid, come to me with
You gotta have
an option.
solutions, and that's the things, we've been meeting on this for probably 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Trying to figure out what we're gonna do, and that's exactly what we gotta do, is have options
Yeah, for sure.
and solutions, 'cause it's a nightmare up there.
Well, I hope one of you can make it up to that meeting, because the homeowners from, or whatever they call them, the Cabin Owners Association that's right there.
Is there like 12 of them?
Yeah, there's 12 of them, some of them are local, but there's other people that affect too. They're talking about putting a new trail system in, or a walking for ATV system that runs, it's a non-existing pathway that really doesn't look like it would benefit for any reason, so there's some explanation that needs to be asked and answered.
I'm quite surprised that these guys have been pretty aggressive, which I'm thankful for, because they've accomplished so much more than the other forests that I've seen across the western states. We've got a really good Forest Service right now.
Yeah.
And we've got local guys and girls that are doing good treatment areas and whatever, and even though fire is a pain in the ass right now, but in the end, it's gonna be wonderful. I don't even know the canyon, because you can't get to it, can't get up to it, but I've seen it from a distance, and like you said, the fuel load in there is 6 feet tall.
When you do get to it, you can't get through it.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Well, same thing with Twitchell and the different things like that, you know, so I'm thankful that these guys are being very aggressive, and they're doing the shared stewardship and all these different things, because it's gonna make a healthier mountain, and hopefully we don't have a Brian Head fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not sure if I can make that meeting either, but.
I can make it. What time is it?
I'll get you the information.
Okay.
And the
I'll try
exact
to
date and stuff, yeah.
I'll be up there.
I do know that these guys, and you need the local input, and they're not gonna do anything that we buck them on. They want the right answer.
Yeah.
Collaboration. Yep. Okay. Anything else? Meeting is adjourned.
You got lunch?
There is lunch
Yes,
right back there.
there's
So grab
pizza
some lunch back there,
across
please.
the hall, and there's, the kind it is on the top, I wrote it in pen. So if you just look on the top flappy, go get some. There's like 5 of them.
Be safe.
Hey, you guys, I will say, thanks for coming. I think this meeting's
I got
very
one
important.
guy.
And that goes for everyone here.
Yeah, come on, Pete, go get some.
Or 3 to 9.
Little thieves, go get pizza.
3 to 9, is that what it is?
Yeah, because I can't.
How are you doing,
I'm
lady?
good, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Sheriff, I'm
You're invited to the city meeting? Hanging out at public meetings. Thank you.
But we did write a letter. We talked to Derek Bushman, since we talked to him about.
You guys grab some pizza.
You too.
There's plenty.
Grab
Yeah, there's
pizza.
plenty. Go ahead.
Our leadership, Tracy Glover and Mike, those guys, they were great, like Western States and the Sheriff's Association, and right individuals, I just thought these guys need to be right.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because I totally forgot about it, yeah.
But, yeah, next one, right, the letter will do the same.
Okay, thanks.
Waiter, you guys make sure you take that as a note, and I will send it to you again, but please try to write a letter on this.
I didn't see a signature for us anywhere on that.